Could you give us your name?
Yes, it's Billy Woodard.
Have you ever worked for a government agency?
I've ever worked for a government agency besides the Air Force?
Besides the Air Force?
No.
No. What did you do for the Air Force?
What did I do for the Air Force? Well, I worked at Area 51.
What did you do at Area 51?
I read a lot of reports.
So you're saying they brought you in and set you down at a desk and had you just read reports?
Yes, lots of them.
To what end?
Well, they wanted my comments on them, on some of them. They wanted to know basically what my take on it was. Several reports that I read were mediocre. The ones that made piqued my interest were ones about Admiral Byrd and things of that nature.
So can you tell us about some of the reports that you read on Admiral Byrd?
I read his original diary, the one that the true diary, not the one floating around the internet.
Was this original copy of the diary?
The original copy.
What did it look like?
What did it look like? It was in the form of a flight log.
So his diary was written into his flight log.
Yes,
As a
it
pilot,
was.
he would keep a log.
Yes, he would.
Let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Because you didn't just happen into a job at Area 51. There's a bit of history behind there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of history behind that. Well, when I was at the age of 12, I had an incident occur about when I was in the Scouts, and it had to do with being picked up by a saucer or UFO, if you want to call it that. And it was quite an interesting event.
You want to tell us a little bit about what happened?
I can tell you the whole thing if you want.
Sure, let's go.
Well, me and my friend were on our way back from the scout meeting, and we got to the edge of the cornfield that goes for about a mile before you get to the house, and then there's a road that goes around it. And I told my friend, I said, well, I'm going to take a shortcut through the cornfield because it's shorter. He said, well, I'm going to keep going around the road because, you know, the corn stalks look like they're going to reach down and grab you. So he's kind of finicky about not wanting to do that. So I said, fine. I parted with him. He went on around the road, and I went through the cornfield. Halfway through the cornfield, I looked up and I saw what looked like a star, but it got brighter, and it got brighter, and got brighter. And then the next thing I realized, the entire area I was standing in was lit up just like daylight. You could, so bright, you could actually see the kernels on the corn. That's pretty bright. I looked up and into this light, and I heard a voice come from it. It says, Billy, we are here to take you on a journey if you would like to go. And I said, yes. Without hesitation, I said, sure, let's go. Next thing I know, I'm looking down, and the ground's going further away, and I'm getting lifted up into this craft. And so next thing I know, I'm inside this craft. And they asked me, what do I see? I said, all I see is bright light. And they toned it down to where I could see my surroundings. And everything was in a circular pattern around inside this vessel. And the people were extremely tall. By standards for a child, extremely tall can be anywhere from 6 feet on up. But these people were way up there.
What did they look like?
Like you or me, except very tall in stature. The female was somewhere between, I would say, between 10 to 12 feet, and the man was taller than that. And they spoke very gently, And they said, all right, so how good are you in geography? And I said, straight A student. And they said, we'd like you to tell us where we are as we go over the different states. And the one we left from was Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas. So that's fine. We started going over the different different states, different flags, and I recognized the flags as we went over them. And I started naming them off. And we got up to Canada and the Canadian flag, and they said, where are we now? And I said, I don't know, we're over ice and snow. And I said, yes, we're above Canada. We're in the Arctic Circle.
You said flags. You could see the flags?
Yes. Through the bottom of the craft, you could look down through the craft, which was transparent, and you could see passing over these cities. And it was quite interesting.
Now, before we continue on the story, I want to go back to the cornfield for a second.
Yeah, okay.
What time of year was it?
Fall.
Fall. Okay.
Yeah.
And as you were being brought up into the craft, what was that sensation like?
Like a lifting. Just suddenly weightless. It's like the gravity around my body was defied, and I was pulled into the craft.
And were you pulled in from the bottom, from the side?
From the bottom.
From the bottom.
Yeah.
Were there doors?
Didn't seem like no doors. It looked like I was going right into a solid bottom, but I went right through it.
Interesting. And then you mentioned the light. Is that what you came into, was solid light?
Yes.
The bright white light, they asked you?
What did I see? And I said, nothing but bright light.
And then they toned it down. Okay, thank you.
And then they turned it down.
Okay. So the flags that you saw as you were flying over the States, what was your altitude?
Very low.
So you weren't that high at all?
No, we weren't high at all.
Was this daytime?
It was nighttime.
At the night.
It was night.
So where were these flags?
They were, well, on the buildings that we passed over. We passed over from Texas, passed over through Oklahoma, the Oklahoma flag, and then they went up from there to the state above Oklahoma. I have to have a map to tell you which ones they are.
Okay. So do you recall any landmarks?
Landmarks, yeah, the buildings were more like the capitals.
Okay, so you're flying over the capitals then?
Mm-hmm.
So you're on the craft and you're heading
Yes.
out over Canada.
Right.
What happened next?
Northeast over, we went over like Baffin Bay and Canada. So, you know, we were by that time I'm totally lost. I don't know where we are. And they said, do you see the glow ahead of us? And I said, yes, I do. What is that? And they said, that's the entrance to Hollow Earth. I said, Hollow Earth? I said, wait a minute. We're taught in school that the Earth is solid and it has a molten core and all this. And now you're telling me it's hollow? And they said, yes, it is hollow. And they said, what you learn is a shame because it's all a lie. And I said, okay. How long are we going to be gone on this trip? And it says, you're going to be gone for 6 Earth months. And I said, 6 months? I'll be grounded for life. That was my thought, you know. And they said, no, you won't be grounded for life. This says you'll be missed, yes, but when you return, your body will be replenished and all the childhood diseases or sicknesses that you were experiencing will be gone.
What sicknesses were you experiencing at the time?
Well, like the mumps, the measles, and stuff like this. But at the time, they said that your immune system is starting to break down and must be replenished. Okay. And that was one of the reasons for the going for the trip.
So you didn't have the mumps and the measles and all the stuff at the
No.
same time at that moment? It
No.
was just that what they're telling you...
It was a fortification against it.
Okay.
And they fortified my body. They gave me a liquid to drink, which tasted like grape juice, but it's very sweet. And I drank it, and it tasted extremely well, and it energized my body as I drank it.
Were you ill when they picked you up?
No, I didn't think I was ill.
Okay.
They said that the immune system had started to deteriorate, and that they needed to reinforce it.
So you see the light ahead. What happens?
I see the light ahead, and we got closer and closer to it. And as we started to curve into it, I said, "That's a hole." And they said, "Yes, that's a hole." And so we went into the hole. We landed at a city inside, and they said, "Do you know where you are?" And I said, "No." I'm presuming inside Hollow Earth, and they said, "Yes, you are."
Tell me about the city.
The city was not like a city on the surface. The cities on the surface are skyscrapers, big tall buildings and all this. And the inside, they're all the buildings are round. They don't have roofs on them, but they're round. And they're built in and around Mother Nature. They're not, you don't see any highways or sidewalks or anything like this. It's all round structures in and around nature.
With no roof.
With no roofs.
What were they made of?
It looked like a marble type substance, but yet I don't think it was marble. I think it was more like crystal.
So smooth?
It's very smooth.
Reflective?
Very reflective. And we landed, and of course I started walking around. And I met several different beings, people, and some of them announced that they were from the surface.
You mentioned the light going in.
Yes.
Did you look up once you landed?
Yes, and I saw a sun that never moved.
What color was it?
It was more between an orange and a yellow.
Could you feel the heat coming from it?
A heat, yeah, more like a soft heat. It wasn't harsh at all. It wasn't bright either. It was very easy on the eyes.
So is there any time of day on the surface that you'd say would be similar to that kind of a lighting effect?
Twilight, maybe.
Twilight?
Yeah. When the sun starts dropping down.
When you look up, can you see beyond this light and see surface on the other side?
As you look outward, you see the horizon rise like this instead of straight across. You actually see it curve upward.
Are there clouds?
No clouds.
Where does the water come from? Does it rain?
It mists from the sky, but it is not like a harsh rain like it is here. The clouds up here are very thick, and in essence, sometimes they have a cloud once in a while in the sky, but it's more of a very like a translucent, looking through it. Very, very not dense at all, very light. And the atmosphere was so exuberating, so refreshing and pure. It was breathing air that just had no smell or taste or anything like it does up here. Up here around cities, you breathe the air and you breathe that smog and stuff. Nothing like that there, at all. No, it was just the purest smell, purest energy. When you breathe it, you're just energized totally.
Okay, so you met some people.
Yes, I did.
Some from the surface.
I met one individual. It was a female. She was rather tall, but and I looked at her, and her face looked familiar, and I told her, "You look familiar," And she said, I should be familiar. I'm Amelia Earhart.
What year was this?
Hmm?
You were 12 years old. What year was this?
I'm 12 years old. Well, let me think back here. I was born, brought to the surface in 51. Let's see.
63, 64?
60, yep, between 63, 64, somewhere in that range. Anybody got a calculator?
Okay.
It's in that range there somewhere. When me and my sister were brought to the surface, we were brought to the surface not as babies, but as toddlers.
We'll come back to that story.
Yeah.
About how that all started. Let's
Right.
finish this one. You met Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart. I also met a group of gentlemen that were, they were dressed in robes, but they were aviators as well. And they had, I didn't recognize them, but they were talking to me because they knew I was from the surface. They said that, I said, well, who are you? And they said, we were Navy pilots. And our aircraft disappeared off of the Bermuda Triangle.
So you met these pilots. They were lost in the Bermuda Triangle?
Yes.
Do you remember their names?
Their names? Sure. No, I remember their flight they were talking about, Flight 19, off of Muscle Shoals, Florida. That was Flight 19.
Do you know what year Flight 19 got lost?
It was back in 47 or 45 or 47, I'm not quite sure
So here's
exactly.
probably 1964.
Yeah.
Were they looking like some really old guys?
No, very young.
So are you saying when you go into the Hollow Earth,
You don't age.
you don't age?
There is no age. It's not like, well, see, time is an illusion. Even up here it's an illusion. But people still go by it. But it's really, down there, it's like, how do you explain it? Is everyone looks young. You know, they don't look old. You don't see people walking around with white hair and white beards. They're all very, very young looking.
Do you think you suppose it's because of the place itself, or is it because of the people?
I think it's because of a little bit of both. A little bit because of the place and because of the people. The place is indigenous to immortality or to longevity. Everything I saw down there was huge in size. I mean, even insects flying through the air were huge. They weren't small little insects. They were quite large.
So do the mosquitoes?
Dragonflies come flying by about 6 foot across. Didn't see any mosquitoes, no.
I was going to ask, are the mosquitoes have feathers, and do they carry you away?
No, no. Mosquitoes with feathers? I don't think so, no.
Well, you know, there's that saying, the mosquitoes are so big down there that they'll carry you off. Anyhow.
No, okay.
So,
the creatures were large. The insects were large. The people were large. I looked up and I saw a flying pterodactyl. And of course, that just didn't register too well. And I said, "Wait, that's a pterodactyl." And they said, "Yes, it is." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I saw dinosaurs.
which ones did you see?
Well, I saw the pterodactyl in the air, and I saw a T-Rex walk by. And of course, T-Rex is a vegetarian. It's not a flesh-eating animal.
Really, with all those teeth?
That's for ripping and tearing plants, not ripping and tearing flesh.
So, wouldn't they be wild? I mean, it seems kind of a dangerous situation.
Well, it's not dangerous at all. Everybody down there speaks with telepathy. That's the norm.
So what does that have to do with the dinosaurs not being dangerous?
The dinosaurs speak with telepathy as well.
So you're telling me that you can talk to the dinosaurs?
Yes, you can. You can talk to the trees, you can talk to the dinosaurs, you can talk to plants, whatever, and you get a response.
T-Rexes are kind of a big animal.
Yeah, they are.
Are there accidents? Does a T-Rex maybe accidentally kick an inhabitant or step on one, or
No, they don't step on nobody.
sit on one maybe? I've seen people sit on Chihuahua. You never know.
Sit on a chihuahua?
I saw somebody do it once accidentally. The Chihuahua wasn't too thrilled with that, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With something that's small in relation to something so large, it's easy not to catch.
Well, they when they walk, they're very meticulous in where they walk.
Okay. Okay, enough about the dinosaurs.
Yes.
So you saw a lot of very large things down here.
A lot of very large.
You met these pilots.
Yes.
Amelia Earhart.
Yep.
What happened next?
Then they had me go into a room, actually a building, in one of the round buildings. They had me sit down in a chair, and this mist, bluish mist, came down over me. And I said, "What's this?" And they said, "You're being detoxified, decontaminated. All the impurities that are in your body are being taken out. And so your immune system will be fortified when you return home to the surface." And I said, "Well, I don't really want to go. I want to stay here." And they said, "Yes, we know you want to stay here, but you're not staying here."
What was compelling you to want to stay there? Was it any?
It just felt,
or?
it's the beauty of everything around you. I mean, everything is so not what it is on the surface. When you look out on the surface, what do you see? You see cars, you see planes flying over and causing, vapor trails behind them, and the sky's not clear, and the sky smells strange. You can actually taste the air here. It's just not there. All that's not there. It's all pure. Everything is pure, and everything's in harmony. I didn't hear any. I didn't hear any bad language while I was there. Nobody spoke as you would speak. It was all from communication, mind to mind. It was really, really wonderful feeling.
So in that communication, mind to mind, are you hearing a voice in your head, or is it something different?
It's more or less like a communication from their mind to my mind. You can do it on the surface too. You just have to sit down and get away from all the distractions, which is really hard on the surface because you've got all these distractions, every come from all different directions. But if you were to get out with Mother Nature and just be quiet and turn your cell phones off and all these condiments that you like, devices, then you could communicate telepathically. But you get so caught up in the mundane world that you lose sight of it. It's just like, it's too many distractions to really communicate up here through telepathy. It's easier to talk. But talking, I think, is what got man in trouble in the first place.
So you get sprayed with this blue mist.
Yes. And then after that, they said, you're free to travel wherever you want to travel. And we'll be with you a little bit later on. We'll take you to the learning centers and re-educate you again. And so I was able to, freely walk around and talk to people, and talk to beings. I saw several different type of races there. Besides the Aryanians, I saw the Lemurians. I saw the insectoids. They look like mantis almost, similar to a mantis. They don't have 6 legs, but they have 2 appendages they walk on, and then the appendages for hands, or not really hands, or like pinchers almost. And they talk with telepathy. And they're not very short, not very tall either. They're in between between 4 and 5 feet tall. And their heads look just like a praying mantis. But they're intelligent.
2 legs, 2 arms.
Yeah, 2 legs, 2 arms. And they fly, of course. They have wings. But they do communicate telepathically in English, and well, they know all languages. It's like when my father, sometimes when I channel my father at different times, when he is speaking to a big group of people, a lot of times there's people there that are not from America, or not from, the local area, but yet they pick up on everything he's saying, and they understand it. It's sort of like he's speaking English, but yet some people that are present from another foreign country that don't speak very good English, they hear the message in their own language. So it's like and he has that ability when he talks, that people from another country can still understand him.
So the telepathic communication sounds like you're hearing the words in your head in the English language.
Yes.
For somebody else listening to the same telepathic communication,
it would be in their language. So it's like when they ask, well, what language do you speak under there? All language. Plain and simple. He speaks, they understand, no matter where they're from.
So you got to travel, you said?
Yeah, I got to travel.
How did you travel?
Well, you don't walk around that much, because they like to, they don't want to harm the Mother Earth at all. They fly around on these platforms that are above the ground, and so you get up and step on one, and it radiates with your vibration, and it actually talks to you by name. Billy, where would you like to go? What city would you like to go to? And
it sounds like a taxi.
Kind of like a taxi, except free.
So what are you standing on? You say it's above the ground.
It's a platform.
When you say what shape is it? Is it square?
It's round.
It's round?
Yeah.
It's like a frisbee, a big frisbee you stand on?
You might call it a frisbee, or a saucer-shaped craft. You don't sit inside of a bubble or anything like that. You sit on this stand on this platform, and it has a ring, another ring that once you step into it, this ring appears around you, around the entire disc, and you're basically inside this enclosure, and you think the direction you want to go, you go that way.
Yeah, I would ask when you first describe it, is there a possibility of falling off the thing?
No, you cannot fall off it.
Is the ring solid? Is there like a handhold?
Well, when you step onto the platform, you have the ring that you're standing on, or the platform you're standing on, which is round, and then once you step onto it, then this other ring comes up from the main part up to about mid-waist area, and just stays right there. It keeps you on the craft, and you can't fall off it. Then you can grab
a hand railing around.
It's like a handrail almost.
What holds the hand railing up? You say it
just comes up from the craft and hovers right there. There's no visible means of support.
So can you pass your hand between the rail and the
Yes, you can.
Underneath? If you wanted to jump from it, could you?
I imagine you could, but why would you want to?
I want to fully understand this transportation system.
Yeah.
So some people are pretty daring. Maybe they want to. There's some base jumpers out there that might want to take that.
Oh, well, it doesn't. It's not that high above the ground. If they jump out, they're going to land on the ground.
Yeah, could I bungee jump from it?
I wouldn't think so. No. Something like that. That's about 6 foot off the ground. Why would you want to bungee jump of 6 foot?
6 feet, okay. Well, I'm thinking maybe you want to go 1,000, 2,000 feet in the air. That could be a thrill.
No, these are conveyances that keep you on close to the ground.
Okay, so we're not nature. It's close to the ground. I'm envisioning the Jetsons. We're flying off and.
Okay, yeah, I understand, but no, they're like little platforms. And then they also have these other devices that are more of like a scout craft, which is something you get inside of. Once you're inside it, it automatically calls you by name and asks where you wish to go. If you wish to go to another star system or another planet or whatever, it can take you there.
So travel is not just within the sphere.
No,
inside
it's not.
Earth, you can go anywhere.
Everywhere.
Oh. So these little scout craft.
Yeah.
Are they just parked hither and there, and if you need one, you can grab one?
You just get on it and go.
Are there parking areas for these little scout craft?
Well, they're all hovering above the ground.
How big are they?
The little scout craft are anywhere from about 150 feet in diameter, which is not that small. It's not that big either.
Sure.
But it's a sports craft. It looks similar to the one that Bob Lazar spoke of. But my father's craft is a lot larger, about 10 times as large. And it's stationed above the in the vicinity of the North Polar opening.
So, okay, we'll get to him in a minute. The question I would have about that,
yeah.
You channeled him last night, and he just came from monitoring the opening. Did he monitor the opening from the craft?
Yes.
Okay. So, 150 foot in diameter sport craft.
About 45 feet high.
45 feet high.
Yeah.
Do you travel in groups with these things? If you need one, it's just like one guy who can go? Is there a fueling station? You got to put gas in this thing?
It doesn't take gas.
Okay. How does it operate?
Runs off of the electromagnetism of the Earth.
Okay. So it's free energy?
Free energy.
Etheric energy?
So you could call it that, yeah.
Vortex energy?
Vortex energy, funny. Yeah.
Hey.
No, I won't say vortex energy, no.
Yeah, just trying to understand the terms. So
yeah.
All right. So where did you travel to during these 6 months? You can go anywhere. Where did you go?
I traveled all over the inside of the planet. The different cities. And of course I went to one city of Yeyu, and that looked familiar to me right away. I mean, the surroundings and everything were so familiar. And it was like I knew where to go. It was sort of like it was deja vu, if you will. Been there before. Yeah.
Okay. So had you been there before?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the rest of your experience during the 6 months in Hollow Earth, or would you like to transition into your origins?
Well, after the 6 month period was over, they approached me and they said, "It's time for you to return back to the surface." And I said, "Okay, but do I have to go?" He said, "Yes, you must return because you have a mission." And of course, that was the first time I was told about a mission. So they returned me to the surface.
Oh, can you tell us what the mission was?
I didn't know at that moment.
Ah, okay.
Or at least I had no recollection of it at that time. But they brought me back to the surface. They dropped me off in the cornfield again.
The same way that you arrived, weightless?
Same way. Dropped me off in the cornfield, and I went walking on and jumped the fence over and started walking up to the house. This plainclothesman was standing there, and he goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "Billy." "Billy?" And I said, "Yes, Billy. I live here." I said, "Guys, call up a search. He's back." Everybody runs out to me, and they start asking me where I've been, and I'm going, "Scout meeting." My friend jumps the fence, runs over to me. He says, "That was 6 months ago." I go, "What?" He says, "6." I said, "6 months ago? No, not really. Couldn't be." He goes, "Yeah, that was 6 months ago. Where you been?" I go, "I don't know."
You couldn't remember that whole experience at the time after you came back?
My memory was wiped.
So when you were in the Hollow Earth, for
Yes.
did it feel like you were there for 6 months?
It didn't feel like any time at all.
Okay.
Because there's no time.
Okay.
You really can't. I mean, a period of existence had passed, but as far as time, it's a continuous day. So how can it be time? Make sense?
Yes.
I mean, think about it.
No, I mean.
Yes and no. Well, you're inside a planet where there's no night at all. It's a continuous day. So you really can't judge a time.
Do you sleep?
Rest, you can. Yeah, you don't have to, but a lot of people do rest, but a lot of people don't. And it's, let's see, well, a day in a life in the Hollow Earth, that's an experience. Well, I rested because I was used to resting, but it was just like an inbred thing. You're automatically going to, lay down and rest. And the thing in the planet, you don't have beds like you do on the surface. This thing is round. It hovers above the floor, and it's soft. So you lay on it, and it's comfortable. And you rest, and then you get up and go about what you want to do.
So getting back to meeting up with your friend that was 6 months ago, you like
right.
away because you had your mind wiped, as you said.
Yeah.
What happened after that?
Well, they started asking me all kinds of questions, and they said, "Sit down in the chair here. We're going to give you a shot, sodium pentothal." So.
Who was giving you this sodium pentothal?
The plainclothesmen that were at the house.
What, they were ready? They had sodium, they were carrying sodium pentothal with them?
Well, they opened up a briefcase, and they said, "We would like to give you this shot that will help you to recollect where you've been."
Doesn't that seem unusual for a plainclothesman to have sodium pentothal in a briefcase?
Well, not just that. They also put me into hypnosis. They wanted to make sure that they were getting the full story. After I come out of the grogginess from it, they said, "Did you remember anything?" And I said, "No," because I wasn't about to tell them yes, but I had. Everything had been brought back.
The sodium pentothal caused that?
Caused it to, caused all the memory to come back. And of my trip and everything else, but I didn't say anything to them because I didn't want to be put under, I didn't want to be taken away from my home. Mm-hmm. And I knew that probably what would happen if I said yes. So I said no, and so they played it back for me. And it was interesting because when I came out of the state that I was in, I was looking at them, and all their mouths were, just totally.
What did they play back for you?
They played back the tapes.
Audio, video?
Audio tapes,
Audio
yes.
tapes.
Audio tapes on a spool, like a recorder, reel-to-reel recorder, and they played all this back. And they said, "Do you recollect any of this?" And I said, no. I was lying, of course. I knew everything, but it had all been brought back to me, and I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to be taken away from my home. But from that point on, I knew something was different, and of course, they checked me over medically. Doctors checked me out, and they said, "We got a problem here, you guys." And what's the problem? This child has no bacteria in the body at all. None. And they said, "That's impossible." They said, "Well, it might be impossible, but that's the way it is." So, and they said, "Well," and then of course in my knapsack that I had on my back, they pulled out this container made of a metal they had never seen before. They opened it up and they asked me what it was, and I said grape juice, and they analyzed it.
Is this the drink that they gave you on the craft?
No, they had given it to me on my return voyage. And they analyzed it, and they said it was the purest grape juice they'd ever seen in anywhere. But there was no way to rate it as being grape juice. It tasted like grape juice, but it was too pure. They said, "Where did it come from?" And I said, "Wherever I went." And so they analyzed it, and they tried to analyze the container it was in, and they said, "There's no metal like this anywhere on Earth." So he definitely went somewhere, So the recording is factual. The recording is real. He's not making it up. He went somewhere, obviously. They said whether it was into a planet, into a spaceship, or what, he went somewhere. We know that, but we don't know because we can't analyze this metal. And they tried cutting it, it wouldn't cut. They tried, with a blowtorch, didn't even get hot.
How are you privy to these tests? You're 12 years old.
Yeah.
And they're saying they can't cut it, they can't do it. How did that information come back to you?
Well, it wasn't that they came back to me. After the initial briefing, they took me and my adopted father, to a facility at the base.
Which base?
Shepherd Air Force Base. It's located in Wichita Falls, Texas. Of course, it's now a commercial airline place now. It's not even a military base anymore. Not an Air Force base anymore. It's now a commercial Shepherd Field or Shepherd Airport or something like that. Last I heard. But at that time, it was a military base. And they took me into this laboratory along with all the stuff they'd gotten out of my knapsack. There was even a flower in there that they couldn't recognize. An orchid. It had, they said this flower was, they'd never seen it before. They asked a plant specialist to analyze it. He says, "I've never seen one before. I can't, there's nothing to reference it to. It's just not." And the funny part about the thing was that the flower was in a small pot or pottery thing. And when they analyzed it, they said, "This thing is talking. This thing is singing. This plant is singing."
So it was a potted orchid.
It was a potted orchid,
And they
and it was singing.
singing.
Yeah.
What was it singing?
It was just singing. Nothing in particular, just like a tone or a sound. And they had machines on it, and it was making these sounds, and they were picking up on it.
Now, you also said it was talking. Were they conversing with the flower?
No, it was more singing, talking, communicating on their machines that they had that were hooked up to it. It was like the needle was, dancing, so to speak. They said it's like it's making a sound, and they were picking up on it, and they were recording the sounds. They said this plant is alive. Obviously it was alive, but
I think maybe conscious.
It has consciousness, and they just couldn't they couldn't comprehend it. But that's the way it was.
So getting back to the question about how you came into this information, just so I'm clear, it sounds like somehow you got brought back to this Air Force base.
Yes.
With your
adopted father.
Your adopted father. Was your adopted father
Air Force?
So the material had to have gone from the uniformed police who had taken the recording and confiscated the container with the grape juice in it in this metal that they don't recognize.
Right.
And the whole bit. It got turned over to the Air Force.
Yes.
Who made that? I wonder who made that decision. I mean,
it was a gentleman that was sitting there. He had he wore dark rimmed glasses. He had a white mustache, white beard, or actually gray and like salt and pepper. And he announced himself as being J. Allen Hynek.
Was this the day that you'd returned?
Yes.
So it wasn't just the uniformed police, it was also this...
It was also this scientist.
Okay.
Was there.
Does he have a connection with the Air Force?
He was connected with them, yes.
Okay. So you were gone for 6 months. How do you suppose that he got involved? What's the connection? Because your father was in the Air Force that he was brought in?
Right.
Was your father a high-ranking individual?
He was a major.
Major? Okay. What was his specialty?
He was in charge of aerial phenomenon.
Okay, so that's the connection right there.
That's the connection.
So he's already kind of programmed to think in terms of you being abducted.
Yes.
Right. So that's how that came in. So here you are, they got the same plant.
Yeah.
Right? You're there.
Yeah.
Did you get to see the plant same connected up to all these devices?
Yes, I did.
What happened next?
Well, it's sort of like I walked over to the plant and put my hands on it, about next to it, and it stopped singing. Stopped giving this vibrational thing out to this machine. And they said, "What did you do?" And I said, "I just told her to be quiet." It's going to get in trouble. And it went silent.
How long did it stay silent? Did it start singing again?
It stayed silent for the rest of the time that I was there in the laboratory.
What was the response from the people in the lab?
They said, "What do you mean you told her to be quiet?"
Were they happy? Were they sad?
They weren't happy about it. They weren't happy about it. It was just sort of like I turned a switch off on this plant.
Well, that, and you also kind of showed your hand too.
Yeah.
What you could do.
Yeah. A little bit. And I had to be real careful at what I did, but I realized I knew then that I was different, and my adopted father then realized I was different, but he was saying that why. Oh, you told us that you didn't remember, but yet you told this plant to be quiet. There must be something there, How can you tell a plant to be? How could you tell this plant to be quiet? How did you do that?
So this is your father talking?
Yeah, my adopted father said, "How did you do that?"
At the base, later on?
Right there in the laboratory, and I said, sent a message to it. You know, he said, well, you didn't say anything. And I said, no, I didn't say anything. I thought it. And it responded.
So here you are, 12 years old. You're at this base.
Yes.
So what happens next? So in your life as you move forward, what happens next?
Well, at that time, I was my sister had already returned home, so that's past.
Okay, so where's home for your sister?
Hollowworth.
How did she return home?
She sent out a telepathic message that she was in danger. And I told her to send a telepathic message home.
Why was she in danger?
She had been sold to another Air Force family. Sold.
How does that work?
Well, how does that work? Well, I don't know how that works. I myself, I really don't know how that works. It was my adopted father told us that he couldn't afford to keep both of us and that one of us had to go.
So it was both you and your sister were adopted at the same time?
At the same time.
Parents?
Yes.
And your father sold your sister to another...
To another Air Force family
not to be
that
crass,
were well off.
Not to be crass, but what, do you know what he asked? What kind of money he got for that?
$1 million.
$1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your sister sold to this other Air Force. How soon after being sold to this other Air Force family was she rescued or picked up or taken?
When she turned the age of 9, we were twins, so we were the same age.
But you were 12 when you got picked up and all this stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
but before that was when she went home.
Okay. So we're talking...
Prior to that, yes.
So after the lab experience.
Yes.
You mentioned about your sister being sold.
Yes. Okay. She was 9 at that time.
That had already happened. Right?
That had already happened.
Yeah, so moving forward, so now your life is going to change.
My life changed drastically from that point on. I was, I won't go into that too much because that's a part of my life I don't want to think about. But it had to do with child abuse. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to get into that. I won't go into that.
Okay, that's fine.
But, so, anyway. Want to talk to my dad?
No, let's go back to origins.
Origins.
Well, we were talking about mission before. We wanted to get to, because you said you didn't know what your mission was.
What? Right.
You couldn't remember at the time.
Right.
You want to talk about what your mission is now, or you want to talk about your origins?
My mission, even at that time, my mission was, but of course I didn't realize it. My mission at that time was to give forth the information that Admiral Byrd was not allowed to give out when he returned to the surface back in 1947. He was told by the delegation or the Council of the Hollow Earth, given a message to give to the world. And he and when he returned back to Washington, they interviewed him with top security forces, and they ordered him to remain silent on all that he had seen and heard on behalf of humanity. And he said, this is crazy. This message is for the world. It's not just for us. And they said, well, we'll see to it that you can't. And they locked him away.
Did they?
They locked him away for a couple years. And then upon his release and being told that he will not talk about this to anyone, not even his immediate family, he was released from the military.
Now, you are a retired Air Force colonel.
Yes.
Age 12, your mission, you know what you need to do. Mm. Can you take us from age 12, what transpired, career-wise? How did you work yourself into position where you...
To be an Area 51?
Got your commission. How did you get into that whole area? How did you get coming to work for Area 51?
Well,
The Admiral Byrd's flight logs.
okay, well, first off, I was born both, how do I put this? You know what the term hermaphrodite is?
Yes. I
I was born both female and male in one body. And my adopted father was, I'll go into a little bit, I won't go into the nitty gritty of it, but he was a pervert, pedophile. And he would use me as a sex doll from age 6 to 10. So that's the part that I don't want to go into detail with.
Sure.
But it was his influence that got me stationed at the Pentagon after I went into the service. I graduated high school at age 12. And that was, I think it was more of a fluke that I graduated, because at that time, when I was in school, back then they didn't have what they have today. They didn't have algebra. They didn't have trigonometry or physics or anything like this. It was adding, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That's it, as far as mathematics. And then you have your English and spelling and all this other stuff. So it really wasn't as complicated as it is today.
So high school was basically easy for you.
Yeah, back then,
At age 12.
at age 12, it was easy, you know, and I knew all the answers. It's like I saw these papers were put down on a desk in front of me. I had went to my adopted brother's school, and I was waiting for him to finish his class so we could go home. And he was taking his final exams, and I sat down on this desk in the back of the room. This kid walks over and drops these papers on my desk and goes on about his business. And I looked at him, and I knew all the answers, so I answered all the questions. And come to find out, I had maxed the test. So at the graduation ceremony for my adopted brother, I'm sitting in the audience along with everybody else, and my brother comes down and says, "They want to talk to you." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because they want to talk to you. You should come with me."
Were they?
The educational board at the high school. So they took me back behind this curtain, and they said, "You're Billy?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Why aren't you in robes?" I said, "What?" And they said, "Why aren't you in graduation robes?" I said, "Because I'm not in high school. I'm in junior high." And he says, "No, you graduated high school." I said, "What?"
Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. So they caught a hold of my principal, which was in the audience watching his son graduate. And they got him back there, and they said, "We've got an issue here." And they said, "What's the issue?" "Well, this child is graduating high school, but he hasn't graduated junior high yet." They said, "Well, he has now." So they said, "How do you know?" And I said, "Well, he maxed the test, valedictorian.
So
You have to give a speech."
the test that... No, hang on a second. So I'm trying to understand this. It sounded to me like, and maybe I misinterpreted,
Yeah.
put a test in front of you.
Yes.
It was a test to see if you could get a GED, basically, what they would call today.
Well, at that time, it was the final exams for high school.
So but your brother gave it to you. Was it your brother's test? Was it?
No, he didn't give it to me. A kid walked up and dropped them on my desk.
A kid?
That I was sitting in the back of the room,
Oh.
waiting for my brother to finish the test
Oh.
so we could go home.
Oh, so you were in there as the test was being given.
Yes.
And you took it as well.
I took it as well.
All right, now I understand.
And I knew the answers, so I answered all the questions. And
You graduated high school.
They graduated high school. I maxed the test. And they said, "Well, how do we know this person maxed the test?" They said, "Well, give it to her again." So they gave me the test again. Right there behind this, put me in a desk, put the test down in front of me. I answered them again, same thing. They looked at it and they said, "Is that convince you?" He says, "Yeah." So now we're going to have to I'm going to have to run over to the junior high school, get another certificate of graduation, so we can do this legally. So
I'm trying to follow the sequence of events here. So it sounded like you took this test. There had been some time that elapsed between the time that you took the test and the graduation.
Yes.
It sounded like you were at the graduation ceremonies.
Yes.
And they called you back there.
Yes.
At what point was the second test administered?
It was administered, and when they took me back behind the curtain.
You knocked it out behind the curtain during the ceremony.
During the ceremony.
This is what you're telling me.
I did it in 10 minutes.
Amazing. Okay.
So I answered all the questions in 10 minutes. It was simple. So I knocked it out. Okay, fine. So I'm up there, and I had to give a speech. And the speech that I gave on was how to be harmonious and how to live a harmonious life. And it just, it wasn't a dry eye in the auditorium after that.
But you also said you were valedictorian. You had to give this speech.
Yes, but see, the thing is, I didn't have anything prepared because I was, it was just off the top of my head.
So what I'm trying to wrap my head around is my idea of what a valedictorian is today.
Yes.
They've gone, they're 4 years of high school, 3 years, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all these grades. They add up the grade point average to come up with whoever's got the highest GPA.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever extracurricular or whatever involved to determine who the valedictorian is. All you did was take a test.
I took a test.
I mean, they deemed you a valedictorian.
Yeah, because I maxed it.
Now, do you get any kind of little sticker on your diploma from high school that says valedictorian?
I'd have to find that.
Yeah. Love to see it.
I'd have to find that.
So moving on. So you graduated the valedictorian, delivered your
harmonious speech.
Yes.
And after that, I got my certificate of graduation. And a week later, I went out to look for a job.
Okay, so what was the first place you went to look in?
The first and only place I went was a Ben Franklin 5 and Dime. 5 and Dime store.
Yeah, yes,
you probably know Ben Franklin.
Not Ben Franklin 5 and Dime.
No?
No. 5 and Dime, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Okay, well, this is the Ben Franklin 5 and Dime. And this was in Smyrna, Tennessee. So I went ahead and went in there, and I said I'd like to apply for a job.
How old were you at that time?
12.
12. Well, weren't you in Wichita, Kansas?
Wichita Falls before that.
Okay.
And we moved from Wichita Falls to Smyrna, Tennessee.
Okay. So there was a transfer. I guess your father transferred over.
He got transferred to Seward Air Force Base, which is located in Smyrna, Tennessee.
Okay, so that explains how you're placed in Tennessee.
Yeah, he was transferred to Seward Air Force Base. So while we were there, we continued our education, and so after this graduation ceremony, I went down to this job, and I filled out all the paperwork to become employed. I left out the part about the age, just went ahead and filled everything else in, and the manager of the 5 and Dime store, he says, "Oh, you didn't fill in your age here. You need to fill that in." So I reluctantly filled it in, and he looked at the age and he goes, 12? 12? You can't be 12. And I said, yeah, I'm 12. But you don't look 12. You look, adult. I said, I'm 12.
So were you tall for a 12 years old?
Yeah, 5'7".
Okay.
5'7", and very shapely at that time. And as you know, like I said, grew up as hermaphrodite, so I had the female body
Sure.
at that early age, but yet I was also, well, both.
Right.
My measurements at that time were 36C, 24, 36.
Okay.
And I had long hair, very long hair, down past my thighs. And right next door was a recruiting center for the armed forces. So while I was working, how I got to work for the Five and Dime was really funny. I'm sitting there and he says, 12. You can't be 12. I said, well, I am. Can we get verification of that? I said, yeah, call in my parents. Called in my parents and they said, yeah, she's 12 years old. High school graduate. Oh, this is the smart kid, the one that graduated high school at age 12 and it's been in the paper too, you know, so they said, yeah. So, oh, okay. So they went ahead and let me go to work. And I was stocking shelves, so nothing major stuff. And one day I walked over next door to where the armed forces was and walked in and I said, I'd like to go in the service. See about going in the service. So the recruiter said, well, okay, we'd like to give you a test, see what you qualify for. And they didn't bother to ask my age or anything like that because I looked the part. Sure. And they said, sure, we'll give you a test, an aptitude test, and see what you qualify. I took the test, and he goes, he checked the test out, took it in the back room, had it tested, checked all the, came back out and he says, well, young lady, you qualify for anything you want, including officer, if you want it. I said, oh, well. And so I said, well, what's my next step? And he said, well, fill out these papers. So I started filling out these papers. Got to the age part, and I filled out my age, and he was, oh, well, he was real happy about it because I made such high grades and stuff right. in the aptitude test. And he got to my age, and he goes, he said, is this right? And I said, yeah. And no. You can't be 12. Tell me you're not 12. I said, I'm 12. And they go, but you can't be 12. We can't take you that early. You know? And I said, well, I'm sorry, but that's my age, you know. And I got to talk to your parents. So I called my parents up, and they came down. I said, yes, she's 12 years old, high school graduate. And he goes, oh my God. So all the different services were there, and they wouldn't touch me because of my age. You know, the Army wouldn't touch me, the Marines wouldn't touch me, the Navy wouldn't touch me. The Air Force said, wait a minute, you're too intelligent to just pass you by. You know, we got to check this out. You know, we got to be a way to do this. So they contact Washington, and Washington sent a representative down, talked to me, and checked out my scores, and they said, we've got to have this person. You know? And so they said, well, would you consider going in at a later time and make an agreement that you'll go only into the Air Force? And I said, yeah. So they said, okay, we'll wait a couple years and we'll take you then. And with the explicit permission of the parents. So that's what happened.
So how old were you when you went in?
I went in at, let me think, I was 12, and then, get my bearings right here, between 15 and 16.
Okay.
I did it again, I'm sorry.
So between 15 and 16, you were, which is exceptional, actually.
It is very exceptional.
That's so what kind of job did they give you in the Air Force?
Well, see, when I was in the junior high, I was in ROTC.
Okay.
I went into ROTC, and I accelerated in that as well. I got up to be in the rank of lieutenant in the ROTC. So I had that behind me, and then I went into basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. When I got there, the drill sergeant, female, she said, "Okay, where's this whiz kid?" So they pointed at me. She said, "Okay, you come with me." So I went with her. She said, "Okay, you're going to stay in my billets, my cubicle. I don't want any problems." And because she knew I was transgender, knew I was both sexes. So she goes, I said, "Well, what's the problem?" She says, "I don't want any of these girls coming up pregnant." Because they knew, she knew I was.
Sure. Oh, gotcha. All right.
That had the penis.
Right.
And so I said, "Okay, fine. I'll stay in your cubicle." And we did for the first 4 weeks of training. After that, the girls were wondering why I was not being with them, sleeping in the same barracks and all that with them. And they questioned the drill sergeant, and they said, because this person is different. This person is transgender, hermaphrodite. And they said, "We don't got no problem with that." And they said, "As long as there's no problems, fine." I don't want nobody coming up pregnant, And so I said, "Well, it's not going to happen, So the last 4 weeks of training, I was with the girls, just one of the girls. At the end of graduation, at the graduation, I was sent to OTS, which is Officers Training Candidate School Air Force.
You have OCS in
OCS is Army.
Yes,
OTS is the Air Force. So I went into OTS. Strange that I didn't have 4 years of college, to go into it. Okay, but yet I'm still advanced, way
it's
advanced.
It's not required though. You don't need to have that college degree to go into, at least in the Army, the OCS.
OTS either, but you have to have some schooling, some major, some college, but not in this case, because of my high grades on the aptitude tests that I had taken. I had qualified for everything, including officer.
Okay, so you went through the basic, and then you went to OTS.
Yes.
Which was like 90 days, typically?
No, it was more than that. More like 8 weeks.
8 weeks, okay.
Yeah, 8 weeks of training.
Okay.
So I think OCS is 8 weeks too, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
I thought it was like 90 days. We have this phrase
No.
called 90-day wonders, they would call them.
Oh yeah, 90-day one. Nowadays it's 90-day wonders. Back then it was a lot longer than that. It was like 8 weeks.
Yeah, sure. They've got the ROTC in college these days. You'll go. That's 4 years.
Yeah.
You get a degree when you're done. And you
Right. Right. So at the end of my training, of course, the drill sergeants that are in there too had to salute you at the end because you're an officer.
Sure. But getting back to the 90 days, that's 3 months. You mentioned 8 weeks. That's 2 months.
8 weeks? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It is. Well, that's 2 months. Back then, but like I said, it was different than what it is now.
Okay.
So we went ahead and went through this training. And they said, do you know where you're going? I'm going to Hawaii. I signed up for it. You know, I got a guarantee letter saying I'm going to Hawaii.
Watch the mic.
Right. Guaranteed letter, I'm going to go to Hawaii. No, you're going to the Pentagon. And I said, I don't want to go to the Pentagon. I want to go to Hawaii. And they said, well, that's where they're going to send you. That's where they want you. That's where you're going. I said, oh, wonderful. So I end up in Washington.
Now, are you cognizant of your mission at this time?
Huh?
Are you aware of what your mission is?
In the back of my mind, yes.
Yeah,
but not
conscious kind of.
Well, I didn't feel it was right to go on it yet. Mm-hmm. In the back of my mind, I was going, wait a minute, it's not the right time. Not the right time for it. At that time, I knew that the world wasn't ready for it, for that information. So I went ahead and went into the Pentagon, got to the Pentagon, and as soon as I got into the Pentagon, they handed my a second lieutenant bars. That's the gold ones. And then, so at that point,
you again. So you got your gold bars. We wanted to get to the point where, what was your job? That was the original question. And you got to the Pentagon.
Well, first thing they did was give me a bunch more files to go through, different flying saucer landings and stuff like this. And I said, why am I getting all these things? Because I was curious. I'm here at the Pentagon against my will.
Well, you signed up.
Well, I signed up, but I signed up to go to Hawaii, And basically, the government sends you wherever they want you, or the Air Force does, whatever. But, so, anyway, I'm sitting there and going through these different files, and I didn't see any sense in it myself, but that was the way they wanted me to do, so I did. And they said, I said, well, where am I going to be? Am I going to be here the rest of my service? They said, no, you're going to Nevada. You're going to an underground facility.
Is this day one on the job?
This is like the first week that I'm at the Pentagon. And then the most unheard of thing that could be imaginable is that they walk up to me and they said, okay, come in to the room over, this other room over here. And I walk into this other room, and there's a officer standing there, a lot higher than me. And he says, and he looks at these plainclothes people that are in there, and he goes, "This is highly irregular. This just isn't done. And he says, well, that, and they start talking about rank and stuff like this. And it's just, how can we give this lieutenant full bird colonel? I mean, it's not done. Well, it's going to be done.
Were you present for this conversation?
Yeah, I'm present for this conversation. I'm still going, what are they talking about?
You're there for a week. They've given you some papers to read about. What you said was flying saucers.
Flying saucers, reports of flying saucers and things like this.
So these
landings and stories and Benny Hill and all these others. And I'm going, okay, so why am I doing this, And they said, well, your next duty station requires you to be a certain rank. And that rank is full bird. And I'm going, wait a minute, I'm a lieutenant.
At 16 years old.
At 16 years old, I'm a lieutenant. I'm a second lieutenant. I haven't even made first lieutenant yet, and you want to give me bird? Full bird? I mean, what happened to lieutenant colonel or captain? And they said, don't worry about that. It's all taken care of. So they pin on the full bird. And I'm going, oh my God.
But it's the capacity of the job. It's not like they were giving you a command.
No, they weren't giving me a command or nothing like that. They just said, you're just required to be this rank and to be in this facility. And I said, all right. And then they said, okay, now what do I want? And then they started arguing about clearance. You know, they started bickering back and forth about, you know, what clearance am I going to have? And I'm going, what is all this? You know, and they said, you're going to a top secret facility beneath the Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. And I'm going, okay, that's all well and good, the top secret, I can understand that. But why are you guys bickering about what clearance I'm going to have, you know? And they said, because that's another requirement. And I said, well, so that's what all that security background checking was for. They said, yes. I said, okay, whatever. So I just sort of sat there and let them do what they, you know, did.
What were the ranks these guys having this conversation?
One of them was a general.
I would expect it, at least.
The general was the one kept saying, it's not done. It's just not done. He hasn't got the qualifications for being a colonel. He hasn't got the backing. He hasn't got the experience. He's a colonel. So, and of course, these guys in plain clothes are the ones, you know, saying this is what's going to happen. You know, this is what's going to happen. Regardless of what you say, General, this is what's going to happen.
Who do you suppose these people in plain clothes were?
I had no clue.
If you were to guess, your wildest guess.
My wildest guess, secret government. That's what I'm guessing. After it was all said and done, I had my full bird colonel. I had crypto top secret clearance, and some other clearance that they said something about, and I didn't even understand what that was. But they said it. They said, in other words, you're saying this person's got higher clearance than the damn president? And he goes, that's right. Oh.
In a week.
In a week. In a week, I'm in Pentagon, and I'm getting all this stuff bestowed upon me, and I'm going, why? You know.
So they were speaking in terms of your next duty station.
Yeah, my next duty station. They kept arguing back and forth.
You'd only been there a week.
I'd only been there a week. And I said, okay, well, how long am I going to be here before I go there? You'll be here for a month. Okay, what am I going to do in that month? You're going to be debriefed about your facility. You're going to. And you can't talk about it to nobody. And I'm going, what else is new? So then in walks my father, my adopted father. And he's going, I looked at him and I said, you're the reason I'm here, aren't you? He said, yeah. And I said, okay. So after that point, I just shut up and didn't say nothing. But then they put me on a plane, sent me to Las Vegas, Nevada, got off the plane, and they said, here is $5,000, go have yourself a blast downtown. I said, why? They said, because you're not going to see the light of day for 11.5 years. I go, what? They said, you're not going to see the light of day for 11.5 years. You're going to be in a facility that's approximately, the first level is like, what, 3-4 miles underground? I'm going, oh, now I see why you gave us the time off. But you can't talk about what you're doing. I said, I understand. Did
they tell you what you were going to be doing?
At the Pentagon, yes, somewhat.
So you had some idea.
They said you're relieving a commander at the facility, Area 51 facility, And he's been there a long time. He's had a nervous breakdown, so you're taking his place.
Oh, so you were actually given the command then? You're relieving a commander.
I'm relieving a commander.
So you did have a command.
Yes, I did. But I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And so they let us go have our little fling down in Las Vegas.
Was any explanation ever given to you why you were so rapidly promoted, if you will, and put into such a high position of responsibility?
Yeah. The explanation was a gentleman one of the plainclothesmen walked up to me and he says, I'm Mr. Stevens, and my rank is not important. You are going to be the liaison and in Area 51. I said, the liaison? For what? He says, you'll find that out when you get there. And I said, well, why is that why I was advanced so quickly? And he says, yes, and your father had something to do with it as well. And I said, oh, okay. He says, well, you need to stop asking questions. I said, yeah, I kind of got that. So basically I shut up and obeyed orders. We got to the Area 51, well, we got to the aircraft. We boarded this aircraft. It was solid white, blacked out windows with a big red 51 on the tail. And we get in this aircraft, take off. 45 minutes later, we land. I step out from the aircraft, pitch black, nothing. No stars, nothing. You know, I said, wait a minute, where are the stars? You know, but better yet, where are we? You know, because we took off at 10 o'clock in the morning, 45 minutes we land, and yet it's pitch black. Where are we? You're inside a mountain. And I said, oh, that's why no stars. Very good. Go get in that staff car. Me along with several other people. We go and get in the staff car, and the staff car starts going straight down this corridor, and all at once it drops down at a 45-degree angle. Down. And this car accelerates to a certain point, and then it levels off and stops again. We walk out, and they said, okay, you see that building over there? And I said, yep. She said, go in there and strip. Everything comes off. Okay, so I go in this room, this building. I walk in the room. These people are all dressed in white. They tell me to go into this cylinder thing, and I step into it, and this blue mist comes down. Decontamination.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, decontamination.
Same stuff?
No, this stuff hurt. And and then they gave us this jumpsuit to put on. We put the jumpsuit on. Back in the staff car, down another corridor, down another 45 degrees for a couple miles. Come to another building. They say go inside. A pink mist comes down. Went through 3 different segments of decontamination. After the 3rd trip down, we go into we step into an elevator.
You mean like a level? Is it so you say with 3 levels or 3, the pink mist comes down, you said there were 3.
There was 3 different levels. So you had the first level, blue mist, okay. Second level, pink mist, and the final level didn't seem like a mist at all, but yet it was coming down.
Are you naked this whole time?
Oh yeah. Well, every time we step into a building, not in the car, no.
You were allowed to get dressed and
jumpsuit.
Try to follow the story.
Yeah, put this jumpsuit on. By the time we get down to the 3rd level, and we step into this cylinder again, this clear mist, or clear, it was like we could feel it, but you couldn't see it. Mm-hmm. And they said, okay, you're totally decontaminated. I said, oh, nice. You know. They put on this other suit, and there's another jumpsuit, and it's got a triangle on the sleeve, and it says Black Projects on the side of it. And okay, fine. Now where are we going from here? It says you're not going anywhere. You're at the level you need to be. These other people are continuing on. So okay, fine. So they escort me down this hallway into this office. I walk into the office, and this guy is sitting in this chair, and his eyeballs are, you know, like he looks like he's had it. You know what I mean? I mean, he's just sort of sitting there, sort of all spaced out. He's got a spaced out look on his face. This is the commander you're relieving, and I'm going, okay. I said, are you okay? And he says, I'm glad I'm leaving. And I said, well, what are you so upset about? You'll find out soon enough. Believe me, you don't want no part of this place. I didn't want no part of this place. I still don't want no part of this place. This place scares the hell out of me. I'm going, okay. nice way to be greeted, right? You know, okay, fine. So he salutes me. I salute him. He leaves under escort, and he leaves. I sit down, and here's this stacks of records, about this high on my desk. I'm going, oh my God, that's a lot of reading. I'm a beer for a while. So I start reading. First thing I pull off, it says 1947, Admiral Byrd, diary. So I sat down and started reading. The more I read, the more interested I got. And then continued reading it, read it in its entirety, and then I looked at my assistant and I'm going, is this for real? He says, oh yeah, it's for real. Wow, interesting. Right after I finished reading that, this guy walks into my office and he goes, you're requested on level 27. I said, 27? What level are we on now? You're on level 10. I said, And what's on 27? You'll find out. Anyway, you're being called by name, requested by name, to go down to level 27. I said, okay. Is this my superior? And they said, no. No. Okay. So I put on my jacket, follow this guy to the elevator. We go down, 27th to the 27th level. Step off the 27th level, and we're in a cavern. Walk out on the cavern, walk through this cavern into another tunnel that looked like it had been freshly drilled or bored out. Walk down this tunnel for about a mile, and then I said, okay, that's who called you by name, requested you by name. I'm looking at these two huge giant people standing next to this cylindrical vehicle. Okay, and I walk over there and I said, all right, why am I here? You're going on a journey. And I said, I am. They said, you are. I turned around and looked at my superior and they said, document everything you see and hear. We want a full report. I'm going, okay. All right, so I walk toward this craft. The door slides up real silently.
Like cigar-shaped craft that we talked about?
Yeah, pretty much like cigar-shaped, almost like shaped like a bullet, similar. And the door slides up very silently. I step into it. They step into it.
Before we progress, I want to ask you some questions about your journey going down to level 27. You talked about taking the elevator down, opening it up into a cavern.
Yes.
It's obviously natural light, artificial light.
Artificial light.
Is it cold?
No, it really wasn't that cold. It was like about 70 degrees.
What color was the light?
The light?
Yeah.
It was artificial light. It was more of it was kind of almost like a fluorescent type light.
Was it dim? Was it bright?
Well, they were like implanted into the rock,
Okay.
you know, and they were regular lights, but they were more of like a fluorescent glow to them.
What about the surface floor, the ground that you were walking on? Was it natural or?
It was natural.
Was it bumpy? Was it gravel? Was it?
Well, it was rocky.
Was it rocky?
Yeah. And then when we got into the other tunnel, it was smooth.
Okay, so this is where you had to walk a mile.
About a mile through this tunnel, through this cavern.
That was an artificial tunnel. That was.
No, the mile was more of the cavern. And then at the end of that mile was a tunnel that was smooth, had smooth sides, and we walked into that.
Was the lighting the same there in that part of the tunnel?
It's like the walls were lit, but you couldn't see any visible means of lighting.
Okay. And then the floor?
The floor was smooth. We walked through that into this shuttle station. It looked like a white marble or white crystal, translucent. And we walked into this. I walked into this vessel, sat down. They said, "Strap in." So I strapped in, and I said, "Where are we going?" "You're going to Telos." I said, "Okay. What is Telos?" Telos is a city beneath the mountain called Mount Shasta.
Okay, so was this a vessel you were on? When I think of the cigar-shaped craft, I'm thinking flying.
A shuttle.
But this is a shuttle. We're now talking about maybe a rail system of some
It's
sort?
like a tunneling vehicle.
Okay.
Not a tunneling vehicle, but a vehicle that goes in a tunnel.
Got it.
And the sides of I mean, before I got in, I was feeling the sides of this tunnel. It felt cold to the touch, but yet it was more of like a crystal tube, if you will. And this vessel was in it, and you couldn't slide your hand between the side of the wall and the vessel. That's how close it was to this side of the wall. I said, "This is mighty close." And it had to be quite, precision very well if this thing's going to go down these tunnels at extremely rapid speed. And they said not to worry. And so I sat down, and this door closed silently. The vessel started to move, and I felt this humming sound. So I heard the humming sound, and then the humming stopped, and the vessel started moving. It went. First, it was going slow, and then it picked up speed. Then it was going by. I mean, the scenery was going by so fast it looked like a blur. You couldn't hardly distinguish anything on the sides at all. It was that fast. I said, "How fast are we going?" And they said, "By your recollection, 4,000 miles per hour." I said, 4,000 miles per hour? And they said, "Yes. We have arrived at our destination." I can imagine. I can imagine.
Okay, so I want to go step back again, and we'll get to the destination in just a moment.
Yeah.
You said you were greeted by these giants.
Well, they were huge beings.
Okay, so how tall?
They were dressed in robe. They were wearing sandals. They had the color of the robes were like a turquoise, and with a red sash type around the center. One was female, one was male. And I said, how come you're so tall? And they said, because we're Lemurian. I said, oh, never mind. And so we went on our trip. By the time they got through explaining to me how fast we were going, we were there.
Sure.
You know. I said, how long did that trip take? And they said, only a matter of moments. I said, okay, now you're telling me Mount Shasta in California, right? And they go, yes. And we just left Area 51. That's several hundred miles.
2,000 miles, actually.
No, not really.
Well, from
No.
Nevada to
It's
California? Yeah.
it's about 800 miles from Pahrump, Nevada to Mount Shasta.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking something different.
Yeah. So it only took a matter of moments. They were there. I stepped out of this vehicle, and I stepped into the city. It was domed underneath this dome-shaped city. Some of the buildings were pyramidal shaped. Some of them were round. And it was quite an interesting sight to see. People going to and fro. Most of them were very tall, and they had blue skin. So not like a blue skin, but more of a teal, turquoise blue, light turquoise blue color. And I said, okay, so we're in Talos. Yes, you're in Talos. And I met Adama. He walked up to me, gave me a hug.
Who's Adama?
Adama is the leading spokesperson for Talos. He is an ascended master. He is Telosian, or he's Lemurian too, but he's also from the city of Talos. His daughter, Bonnie, Sharula Dux, you know, you've heard of her.
Sharula Dux, yes.
Sharula Dux out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, where she lives now, with her husband Shield Dux. She's the daughter of Adama. Have you had a chance to meet with her yet?
I haven't met with her. Don't know how to reach her.
Well, the best way to reach her, from what I understand, is to contact the people in Mount Shasta can probably get a hold of her. I'm trying to think who it was that the contact person for that.
We can talk about that later. I want to continue with your story.
Yeah, sure.
So you've been sent there. You've been called, actually summoned.
Summoned by name.
By name. We found out who has summoned you yet.
Well, I was about to find out. Well, Adama is the one that summoned me. So I said, "How is it you know my name?" And he says, "I know both of your names." I said, "Both of my names?" He says, "Yes. Your Earth name, surface Earth name, is Billy. Your true name is Zarayya." I said, "Yes, but how did you know that?" "Because I know your father." I said, "Oh, okay, you know my father." My real father. And they go, "You know my real father?" And he goes, "Yes." I said, "Oh, okay. Why am I here?" They said, "You're going to get a tour of the city." I said, "Okay." So I went to their hydroponic gardens and their how they grew their food and stuff like this, and went through the city itself.
So the city, just to be clear, where is it located?
It's located 1 mile beneath the surface of Mount Shasta.
It's underneath this dormant volcano.
Yeah.
Is it hot under there?
No. Very pleasant, actually. See, the city is built in a domed covering. The covering is like a clear crystal. Okay, and I said, well, if this thing ever erupted, would it hurt the city? And then he said, no. The volcano can erupt, but it won't affect the city in any way.
Okay, thank you for that. So you're given a tour of the city.
Given a tour of the city.
Adama knows your father.
He knows my father. And as I was getting off the shuttle, Bonnie was getting on the shuttle.
Who's Bonnie?
Bonnie is the daughter of Adama, Sharula Ducks.
Okay, that's...
Sharula.
Okay, so...
Princess Sharula.
Well, you mentioned having two names. So there's Princess Sharula Ducks. Is Bonnie her surface name?
That's her surface name.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Bonnie Sharula Ducks is her actual... She's actually Taylor's princess, if you want to get more technical about it. Why she decided to stay on the surface, I don't know, but she did. She's also gained some weight, too. She used to be thin, now she's put on several pounds of extra weight, from what I understand. But, so I took the journey. He says, Adama assigned a person with me and told me to mention to them, take them to the surface. So we went up to the top of Mount Shasta. As we came up in sort of like a cylindrical tube. We stepped on it. Mm-hmm. The platform went right through this tube, right straight up to the top of the peak of the mountain. Came out, it was snow everywhere. We were in between the two top peaks. And we were standing on this platform, looking out over down the mountain into the into the town of Mount Shasta, which was very small at that time. We could see a long ways. And I said, wow, this is something. He says, yes, it is. He says, I said, well, what was the purpose of me being shown this? For information. Your superiors are going to want an explanation as to where you went. So we're going to give them what they want to a degree. You're not to tell them anything about the workings of the city. I said, well, that's none of their business. He said, you can tell them that you went to a city, underground city, but you can't tell them where it is. I said, okay. So after another couple hours of walking through the city and experiencing some of the stuff in there, and ate some of the food there, that was pretty good. The fruits were huge in size. They handed me a strawberry, it was like that big around, huge, pretty good size, about the size of a nice honeydew melon. But it was real sweet tasting, sweeter than anything you taste on the surface. I asked them, well, I said, are you all vegetarian? They said, well, fruitarianism and also breatharianism. I said, well, what's the difference? He said, well, in fruitarianism you're eating fruit, in breatharianism you're eating nothing. That's your ultimate diet, is breatharianism. I said, oh, you mean not eating at all? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. Can you do that? I said, we can. So I said, okay. I said, no, you know my father. Obviously my father is from here? No, your father's from the Hollow Earth. Can I go there? In time you will.
Okay, let's stop here a second. So this is a good opportunity to get this question answered. And I've asked a lot of people this question.
Yes.
What's the difference between inner Earth and hollow Earth?
Okay. Inner Earth has to do with the subterranean cities in the Earth's crust. That's inner Earth. Hollow Earth is inside the shell, on the inside portion of the shell, where the central sun is hovering in the center. That's hollow Earth. Inner Earth is your subterranean cities, such as Agartha, and the lesser city of Shambala. There's a greater city located in the hollow Earth itself called it's the greater city of Shambala, and then in the Earth's crust you have the lesser city of Shambala, which is a crystalline city. So that's the difference between them. A lot of people are saying, well, inner Earth is hollow Earth. Some people believe that that's the way it is, but in actuality it's not. Hollow Earth is where the central sun shines on the inside of the Earth's shell. Inner Earth is your caverns, your different civilizations within the Earth, crust of the Earth.
I had expected as much, so thank you for clarifying that. And going hand in hand with that question, because there's so much, if you want to call it mythology or stories or what have you about what does it take to get to these underground cities, being invited in, especially in the case of Telos.
Yes.
And even you've mentioned your mind has to be right and then to be invited in.
Yes.
The question then becomes, well, what's the difference between 3D, 4D, and 5D?
3D is your three-dimensional world as you've been accustomed to. Fourth dimensional is a rise in vibration and understanding and realizing who you are. Fifth dimension is even a higher degree. However, it's also a change in physical form. That's where your body becomes translucent, and your body becomes impervious to harm. Literally, your body takes on a very immortal form. And the fifth dimension is the key or the doorway to all higher dimensions.
Do we have fifth dimensional life on inner Earth and hollow Earth now?
Yes, you do.
Is there, some have said that we're heading towards a shift, a change.
Another shift, yes.
Is this a dimensional shift?
It's a dimensional shift as well as a physical shift. Because once the human body shifts to fifth, their physical form will change. It will change for the better. And it will also change, your density. You have a lot of density on your body right now. That's why you're seeing yourself as solid, when in actuality you're pure energy. But in essence, the energy of the fifth dimensional body is more of like a translucent body. You can see through it, but it's also solid. But it doesn't have the density that your Earth body has now. Each day you wake up, since the beginning of January 2006, ever since that time period, when the shift, the third to fourth dimension shift took place, from that point on, your density is starting to shed off your bodies. Every day you wake up, you feel lighter and more energized and more enlightened. A lot of, since January 2006, a lot of babies that are being born, they're being born very intelligent. I mean, extremely higher than their predecessors. Why? Because they are getting ready for the shift to fifth dimension.
Is that coming soon?
Yeah.
When's it coming?
Well, I'm not going to give a date. I'm not going to give a time because that wouldn't be wrong. I'll just say this very soon.
Very soon?
Very soon.
Okay. Moving on. So,
I'm saying, well, what Zora has been bringing out and what we've been talking about in conference calls is a gathering. Gathering's supposed to take place before the end of this year, sometime. Doesn't say when, exact date.
gathering of what?
Gathering of, see, your DNA has a code in it, and when that code is activated, then at that point in time, point in existence, you're going to go one of three places. You're going to either go into hollow earth, inner earth, or off-world. The purpose for this is because Earth has to re-terraform. And it will be expanding as well. And that expansion is going to entail some major seismic activity. So the way that the Hollow Earth and Ashtar Command and the others are preparing, way it's set up, is the people must be taken from the face of the planet out of harm. Because this world is going to rebirth itself. It's going to reclaim the surface. All the cities and man-made, the world as you know it to be is going to cease to exist, and a new one's coming up from it. So there can't be anyone on the surface during that time.
So they're going to inner Earth, hollow Earth, or
Off-world.
Off-world.
Turning to the prospective star systems, to where you feel you're from.
This year?
By the end of this year.
So you're having a nice view of downtown Mount Shasta for what it was in 1964-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens next?
So then you have, no, not 1964, that'd be in the 70s.
Oh, was it? So
Early 70s.
you were like 16 years old, you got your commission.
Yeah.
You know, a month later you became a colonel.
Yeah.
And how much time? They gave you $5,000 to go play in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
How much time has elapsed? We're talking from age 16 maybe? To,
Something like that, yeah.
yeah.
So that would put it into late 60s,
Okay.
early 70s, somewhere like that.
Okay.
Is that about right?
You said you were put on the surface in 51.
51, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Had 12.
At 12.
63.
53, 12.
63.
Okay.
Right?
12, yeah. You're about right. Yeah, yeah.
67, I guess. You're right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
758. Okay. So anyway, let's continue on there.
So there's things you can say, there's things you can't say. They're only showing you things. You get the big old
Right.
strawberry, the breatharian, the
Right.
fruitarian.
Right.
You're learning about Telos, the underground.
Learn about Telos.
Wanted to clarify the difference. You know,
Yeah.
light. Where's the light come from? You're under a mountain.
The light, yeah, well, the light is artificial as well. But it's not actually artificial light. It actually emanates from the bodies of people.
What if there aren't any people around?
Huh?
What if there aren't any people around?
Aren't any people around?
Yeah, yeah. If you're in a place, there's no. Hey, I need a light. Are you the light? You know.
Well, see, their bodies are translucent.
Okay.
Their bodies they give off a light.
So
Their actual cells give off the light.
are they 5D then? All of these people 5D?
Yes, they are.
Is light body an accurate terminology for their bodies being in 5D?
I would say translucent.
Translucent?
Light bodies would be considered beings from the sun.
Okay.
would be termed as shining ones.
I'm being facetious and asking the questions about where the light's coming from.
Okay.
Actually. Okay. But are there any other sources of light? It can't all just be coming from the bodies of the people.
True. They do have areas like going through tunnels and stuff like this that are lit up the same way that, coming out of the walls themselves. There's no physical or visual means to see where this light's coming from, except it's coming from the walls.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Okay.
You can't see a light bulb. You can't see a source of light, but the whole entire tunnel lights up, which is I don't know. Maybe we didn't even try to explain it.
The only thing I've read Sharula Dux's interview, which was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever it was, she gave that.
Yeah.
And she had described in there a bit about bioluminescence or kind of luminescent rock. And,
that too.
Things like this.
Yeah. And there is a light source that is emanating from the rocks. I'm thinking maybe there's maybe some tubes behind the rocks or something that emanate.
We spent a lot of time on light. I was just very curious because being an electrician, I asked these questions. Where are the fixtures? Where's the wire?
There is no fixture.
Where's the conduit?
There's no wires.
It's coming from the people. Oh.
Coming from the people.
I get that.
It's just like the people in the Hollow Earth are the same way. The light is emanating from their being, and it gives them all the light they need.
Okay, so you had the giant strawberry.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was able to rest, and it was wonderful to rest and sleep in the gardens because they're so peaceful. There again, we saw different types of animals, very large. Some.
Any T-Rexes roaming about?
No, not in Talos. No. We did see some extremely large. What would term is a mole. You know what a mole is?
Sure.
A very large mole, about 12 and a half feet long.
Wow, that's a big mole.
That's a big mole. And
do they have lawns in Telos?
Lawns? Yeah, of course.
Grass and.
Of course they do.
Don't the moles kind of mess up the lawn?
No. This particular type of mole was making tunnels, yes, but in the earth itself. And when it burrowed a hole, when you walk into that where it had burrowed, you'd walk into a tunnel. This is how big this tunnel was. You walk into this tunnel and here's this creature digging into the. But
that sounds messy. It could be, lots of dirt. How many of these moles they have down there?
I only saw one myself.
Well, it's probably good. Maybe one is all they need. Okay.
I think I better shut up and let my father come in now.
What's your origin? Okay, so we can speed it up a bit.
Yeah.
So you're there. You had to go back.
Yeah, I had to go back. When I went back, got back in the shuttle. Pardon me. Got back in the shuttle. A few moments later, we're back at the area 27. 27th level shuttle station. I step off, and of course I'm debriefed right away.
Sure.
I said, "What did you see?" I said, "Well, I can only tell you that I went to a city, underground city. I don't know where it was. Of course, I lied to them. I wasn't going to tell them where it was because I was asked not to. I just said it was underneath a mountain. That's all I could tell them. I didn't say where. They said, "Well, what did you see?" And I said, "Well, I told them somewhat about the city, but not all that much." "How was it powered? Was it powered with nuclear power?" No, they didn't use nuclear power at all. They had a lighting system that was surpasses anything we have. And they said, "Well, what about air?" I said, well, they had shafts that went to the surface. And they also had artificial air, oxygen. I told them what I felt they would pass, so to speak. Like I said, I was requested not to say certain things, which I didn't. I kept their respect. I respected their privacy. And then, of course, the next day they said, "Okay, you're being requested by name again. What is your connection with these people?" And I'm going, "That's what they're asking me, you know." I said, "Well, maybe I just find favor in their eyes or something. Maybe I don't know." And one of the officers says, "You're too damn honest. That's what your problem is." I said, "Well, maybe that's why they trust me." You know. So, well, whatever. And so, went down to this shuttle station, handled it in area, level 27 again. Got on it. This time it was going in a different direction. Instead of going to the right, we were going to the left. Same two people were in it. They said, "Welcome, are you ready for your journey to Hollow Earth?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Okay. Would you like to sit up here and watch instead of sitting in the back?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So they put me in the seat between them, and off we went. And how this thing went through these tunnels so quick. I mean, it went straight, and all of a sudden it went like this. I mean, it's like L-turn, you know. I'm going, whoa! Wait a minute, that was a little too fast, you know. And then I felt felt like we were going down. The motion was very negligible, very slight, but yet I felt we were going down, and we were.
You ever pop when you're going down? Feel any pressure?
No, you're popping. Artificial gravity within the craft. And we went down. We got to the 400-mile marker and they stopped. Completely stopped. And I said, "Why we stopped?" "Well, we're equalizing pressure." And I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you're at the center of gravity." I said, "What? You at the center of gravity? 400 miles into the Earth's crust is the center of gravity." I said, "Oh, okay." And they started up again. A few moments later, we surface at the shuttle station. I step out, I look up, and here's the sun that don't move. And I said, "This looks familiar." And they said it should. And I said, "Oh, okay." So I'm sitting there and we're looking around. And I said, "Well, what am I to do now?" "Whatever you want to do. Just have yourself a blast." So I started visiting some places. I went to Pathologos Library. And a few other places. And they said, "Okay, you're going to meet with the Council of Hollow Earth." I said, "Okay." The same council that Admiral Byrd made contact with, had audience with. The Arianian Council.
Say that again,
The Arianian Council. There's one person on the council. He was considered the master of the world, and He looked young, but yet I knew he was ancient, and so I met with him, talked with him. He asked me about Area 51 and what progression they have gotten to.
Progression in what?
science, technology. I said, well, they're still tampering with nuclear power. And he says they shouldn't be doing that. I said, well, yeah, I agree with you there. They shouldn't be doing that. But they're doing it. It's something that they're doing. They're not about to relinquish that kind of power. At least not yet. And they said, yes, we know. I said, okay. You want to know, what else you want to know? I said, well, whatever you want to tell us. And I told them everything, all about my duty station, what I do, what I've been doing. And they said, okay. How do you like it here? I said, I like it a lot. Do I have to go back? They said, yes, you do. You have a mission. I said, that's me. The second time I heard that term, mission. What do you mean I have a mission? And they said, well, it's not in your recollection, but you volunteered for it. You and your sister. And I said, how can I remember that? Why can't I remember that? It's not time for you to remember that yet. The world is not ready yet for your message. Okay. So, went back, Area 51. What did you see? We know you went to the center of the planet. We know that much. What did you see? I said, a whole new world. A world of harmony, a world of peace. No chaos at all. The people there, they don't speak, they don't use their mouths to get them in trouble. They use mind-to-mind communications. So they put me in a room and started doing a bunch of tests on me again. That's normal for military. And they checked me out, and they said, well, what can you tell us about their sociology? They said, I said, their sociology is they're all one body. All one. There's no separation between them. And they're always smiling. They love to smile. And they said, well, what is their military capability? I said, far more than yours. I said, let's put it this way. If they desired, they could bring a standstill to the entire surface of planet Earth. How's that for power? They want you to stop using nuclear power. It has too many bad side effects. And they want you to stop it. Well, you know that's not going to happen. I said, yeah, I know that's not going to happen, but they request that you stop. Well, when are we going to be able to gain entrance there? I says, whenever you're invited. Well, what makes you so privileged? Because I respect their privacy. Well, you have to tell us everything you saw. I said, no, I don't. I was requested not to say certain things, and that's going to be as it is. You're allowed to know certain things, but you're allowed to not know certain things. Well, we order you to tell. You can order me all you want. I'm only allowed to say certain things. Just like under your command, I'm also only allowed to say certain things. So respect their privacy. Just as they're respecting yours. Oh, well, they reluctantly agreed.
No threats?
No threats. Wouldn't have done him any good.
Let's talk about, so you were summoned and you went to Hollow Earth. Did you get to
Yes.
see your father?
Not that trip, no.
Okay.
He was elsewhere, doing what he does, which is monitoring the North Polar opening.
Can you tell us how you came to be on the surface?
You want me to back up?
Are we done? I got the answer. I don't think I've got the answer to the mission yet, actually.
Huh?
What is the mission?
The mission is to give the contents of Admiral Byrd's message to the surface world. It's a threefold message. The first part of the message is the existence of Hollow Earth, part of it. The second part is medical, having to do with cures of all the diseases that were on the planet at that time. And then there's also the third part was telling them not to use nuclear power. They need to stop and desist from using it. That was the first part. Second part was medical, and the third part was the existence of Hollow Earth and its people. And that they are the sisters and brothers, your sisters and brothers, in Hollow Earth. If that message could have been given out back in 1947, when it was, suggested for it to be given out, we wouldn't have been going through what we've been going through. The world would be a lot different place had that been able to been gotten out. But that was the mission that we volunteered for.
You and your sister?
Me and my sister. We were sitting on a beach in Hollow Earth with our feet in the water, and we were approached by the council and asked if we would volunteer to go to the surface to give out this message.
How many trips around the sun had you been by the time you were approached?
How many trips? Well, I'm 60 trips around the sun now on the surface. It would have been 1,800.
And for 1,800 trips around the sun, what was your size?
My size?
How tall were you?
My stature was 15 feet.
15 feet.
Yeah.
And yet you were deposited on the surface. What was your stature at that point?
About that tall.
And surface age? Equivalent age, like 18, whatever, 100 cycles or whatever, trips around the sun.
Right.
Now you go from 15 feet to toddler height.
Toddler height.
Right. And you had to have been adopted, as you say.
Adopted.
Okay, you were adopted.
Me and my twin sister together.
At 15 feet in Hollow Earth, were you 5D?
Yeah, of course.
And you get deposited on the surface, you're no longer 5D?
Nope. My mind is, but my body's not.
What is the process of being deposited on the surface?
Well, how it transpired after we went through our shrinking back down to the size we were going to be, we were brought up by airship, deposited in the city park in Wichita Falls, Texas. We were wrapped in a blanket, put in a dumpster on top of the garbage, and to be found. by the city park maintenance people and a police woman. Once we were placed in the receptacle and they left, then of course our survival mode took over and we started screaming our heads off. And we were heard by the city park maintenance worker and also a police woman that saw us, they opened up the dumpster and saw us, took us out of it, and turned us over to Child Protective Services in Wichita Falls, Texas. When the policewoman picked us up, picked both of us up, her body started tingling, and she put us down because she didn't want to drop us. And what had transpired when she picked us up was that she had had a issue with her body. I think she had breast cancer or something like that. And when she picked us up, she was instantly healed from just picking us up. And then, of course, we were, how we discovered this, she came back the following day to the Child Protective Services and sat next to us, and she started talking to us. We weren't saying anything, we were just listening. But she told us what had happened after she had picked us up. She says, "I feel you two are very special. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I feel I should tell you this." And she told us what happened. That she had went to after she picked us up and brought us to the Child Protective Services, she went to see her doctor, who had diagnosed her before with cancer. And she explained to us that when she had him check herself out again, she no longer had it. Her body was completely clean of cancer, which the doctors just didn't register. She said, "I wish that I could adopt you, but I'm not married. And I feel you're going to be adopted by a loving family." Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But and me and my sister looked at her and just nodded. That we acknowledged that we understood what she was saying. And in unison, we both gave her an impression in her mind that it's all right. We gave you a gift. She said, "I understand you, but you're not talking." And we said, "We know." And then she got permission to take us and turn us over to the orphanage. And she was assigned to take us there. After she took us there, and she said, "These children are very special. They need to be put in quarantine, away from the other children," which was a standard procedure anyway. So they put us away, me and my sister, into a room in the attic. All that was in there was a radio and a square box with a tube about this big around, black and white TV set. And we were in quarantine for like 3 or 4 weeks. And all that time we were there, we were learning, listening to the radio and watching this Jack Benny on the radio, on the TV. And so we learned how to talk. We learned how to communicate in English. Before that, we spoke in Lemurian to each other, with our minds, not verbally. We didn't feel any need to do that because we could communicate telepathically, so we didn't feel the urge or the need to use our mouths. That was an experience when we started doing that, though. But it was kind of hard to start talking. We saw how easy it was for other people, but when we started to talk ourselves, it seemed foreign. Something that was not normally, well, in the Hollow Earth is not done, hardly. But it was hard to form words. We had to learn how. And we did that in the privacy of that room that we were in. And then shortly after that, we were in the common room, they call it, and radio broadcasts come across the airways talking about a missing child in Yellowstone Park. And me and my sister were sitting there. We closed our eyes and we visualized where this child was. We wrote it down on a pad and pencil. They gave us a pad and paper because they thought we were deaf and dumb, couldn't talk, because we weren't talking. We wrote down the location of the child and we gave it to one of the staff members. They immediately called Yellowstone Park and told them where this child could be found. They said, "How do you know this? We have a couple children here that have extraordinary senses." And they told us where this child was. So they checked it out, and they found the child. It was a Native American ranger that got in the helicopter and took off to the location where this child was. 5 miles from the search area. They were trying to figure out how this child got 5 miles from this out of the search area. And the Native American ranger walked into the cave, Bear Rock Cave. As he walked into the cave, he saw a female Sasquatch nursing the child. He walked in, the Sasquatch saw the Native American ranger, picked the child up, carried it over to him, and put it in his arms. Turned around, walked back, sat next to the fire. He brought the child back to the search area, and it made headlines for that.
Interesting. I didn't expect Sasquatch to come out in this story. I really didn't.
Sasquatch is real.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But it's actually called a Chatus. It's not called a Sasquatch.
Chatus.
Prefers the term of Chatus. The Bigfoot or Sasquatch or Chatus is the original, the real people that were on the earth before the advent of man, or the white race. Native Americans were around, the dark-skinned people were around, but the white race were planted on the surface from other places, other star systems.
Okay, what was the last question I asked you?
What are my claims?
Yeah, let's start from there. So what are your claims?
Well, that I was born in Hollow Earth, and that I'm here to my mission is to bring forth the contents of Admiral Byrd's message that was given to him by the Council of the Hollow Earth, the Orionians, master of the world, that the people of Hollow Earth are your sisters and brothers that love you dearly, that are very concerned for your welfare, and they're now preparing to come to the surface. The Agarthians are already on the surface, and they're doing their work quite diligently. And the work they're doing is to clear up the atmosphere, clear up your air quality, cleanse the pollutions that are in your oceans, clear up the oil that's in the Gulf of Mexico, and the poisons that it's producing. Also, another claim is that the Earth is about to go through a physical change as well as higher dimensional change, and this will be taking place before the end of this year. When my father put it to me was that even though I know the exact date and time, I can't tell them because it would be wrong to do so. And that they're God, and they are the creator. They are the healers of their world. They are the creators of their world, even though they've been taught otherwise. You're asking me about the headbands.
I will get to that in a moment. I want to talk to you about your DD-214.
DD-214, from the separation from the military.
Why don't you tell us why don't you tell the audience what your rank was in the military?
My rank was full bird colonel.
How long you were in?
I was in for 11.5 years. That was active duty, and then another 5 years inactive after that. So my DD-214 that I had received upon exiting the military was all put in a record box by me, sealed and put away for shipping because I was being reassigned. And upon the reassignment, we were being moved by U.S. military government movers. And conveniently, all my box of military discharge and all this was conveniently lost. And I went to get another copy of the DD-214 and discovered I ran into a brick wall of presidential closure. It states in that whenever you try, you can pull my records up, it says sealed by order of the president.
So if a person who has the capability of authority, if you will, of requesting a copy of a DD-214, be it you or some other agency, what they're going to get back is a message that your record has been sealed.
Most likely. The last time I attempted to get one, that's what I ran into.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about your headband?
The headband is a combination of copper, quartz crystal, and gold. Gold is used because it gives a higher vibration, a higher frequency. Initially, the initial band was designed using a silver disc, which does the same thing, but it doesn't do it as fast. It takes a little more time. But it does work. It does definitely change your outlook, changes your, it works on your immune system, it works on your focus, it works on your clarity. It is an intergalactic communication device for communicating intergalactically. And it works, of which you are quite familiar with.
Yes, I did try it on, and I went on a nice little trip. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple closing questions, and then we'll get on to Zora.
Okay.
What is the legacy you want to leave behind?
The legacy I want to leave behind. That I was able to give out the information required for my mission, to let people know that they're not limited beings, that they are gods, that they are healers. From the smallest child to the eldest of elders are healers on this planet. You're not limited, you only limit yourself. You are immortal, in essence. You have the capability, it's even told of in your Bible, that you have the power of the gods. And it was foretold in the Old Testament when God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and with our powers and abilities. You won't find that in any American Standard Bible or King James Bible, but it's in the original Dead Sea Scrolls. So that tells you right there you're God. And it's not mentioned in the Bible because they don't want you to know that. So,
what is channeling?
What is channeling? Well, in most cases, the channels that I have experienced, they sit in a chair and they talk and give a bunch of information. But they don't get up and walk around. They don't interact. That's been my experience with channelers. However, when it came to Ramtha, that was not so. Ramtha would get up, walk around, hug people, talk to them, interact with them. The same thing with my father. He does exactly the same thing.
What is your father's name?
Zora.
Are we going to meet your father?
Yes, you are.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
You want to take a break first?
It's up to you.
Okay, I'm good.
You want to take a break? Okay, good. All right.
We'll talk to you later, dear.
Yeah, right.
Get some rest.
So you want to
Have
describe,
fun.
before you go in, you want to describe the process you're going through?
I am basically,
What we're about to see.
what I am doing is I am giving up myself to my father. He is going to be coming into me, and I'm going to be going into him. Where he is, I will be. Where I am, he will be.
When you go there and you come back, do you remember what you did when you were over there?
Yeah. When I'm over there.
But when you come back?
When I come back, I don't know hardly anything of what took place here. I need to be filled in on it.
Yeah, so when he comes back, you could ask him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask Zora where he's been and what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, I have a hunch I'm going to be at the North Pole. I think. That's my guess.
Okay.
Of course, that's not set in stone. I might end up on the back of a pterodactyl or a T-Rex or something like that.
Yeah, so is this pterodactyl? Can you bungee jump after pterodactyl? Can you do that?
Bungee jump off of a pterodactyl? I don't think you can
I would like that.
I don't think he likes something hanging down from him.
No.
But anyway, so I'm going to be quiet here for a moment and allow him to come forth. I do go through a change. My breathing gets heavier, I'm sure, and my countenance changes. I start talking with an accent, which I don't normally do, but yet there it is. Well, you'll see. Indeed.
Hello.
And how be you?
I'm well. You're, just so you know, you're on camera. We're doing an interview with Billy. Billy's gone. You're here now.
Indeed.
We wanted to ask you some questions. Just was curious about Billy's upbringing.
Upbringing?
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about how he came to be selected for coming to the surface?
We needed what would be termed as ambassadors to come to the surface, to give forth what would be termed as the message that was given to Rear Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd to give to the surface world, which he was prevented from doing as far as the military was concerned. And so Billy and his sister was asked to do so. And first they asked me, and I said, I will ask and see. And we did. We asked them, and they agreed.
I understand that the measurement of age.
Age is an illusion.
On the surface is different from what it is in hollow earth.
Of course.
You speak of trips around the sun.
Indeed.
How many trips around the sun were Billy and his sister by the time that you asked them to become ambassadors?
Would have been 1800, exactly.
1800 exactly.
Indeed. They were twins, and they were identical.
Okay. I understand they were deposited on the surface.
Indeed they were.
Who did that?
That was done by a delegation that we sent forth to take them to the surface. It was done by aeroship, elusive aeroship. The vessel appeared in what would be termed as over the skies of Texas. And it was in the middle of the night, and they were deposited in a city park, garbage receptacle, and also we watched over them to make sure that they were discovered,
Okay.
at which time the vessel that was waiting in the cloud departed.
Were you there in the delegation?
No, I was in doing my North Polar opening observation.
Is that what you were doing before you arrived just now?
Indeed, I was.
Is that where Billy is now?
That is where he is now.
So you have a recollection, you can remember what you were doing just before you got here.
Indeed.
Is it ever an interruption in what you're doing when Billy calls on you?
An interruption?
Sure. Maybe you have something that you need to finish.
No, it is a joy.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, people get busy. They get involved in things, and it just seems it could be possible that you're not available. Has that ever happened?
Very seldom.
Okay. When Billy comes back,
Indeed.
will he remember having been over there?
Indeed.
Will he remember what he was doing?
Indeed.
So when he comes back, I can ask him.
Of course.
I shall. I'll ask you a question I asked Billy.
Indeed.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
A legacy I'm leaving behind?
Yes, what kind of a legacy?
I am not leaving behind a legacy. I will be continuing on. I will be speaking forth through another individual.
Okay.
I will not be leaving any legacy.
So when you say you're speaking forth from another individual, you're talking about somebody else
Channeling through them.
channeling. Okay. When that person is channeling you, or you're being channeled through them,
Indeed.
that should be interesting to see. So I'd like to make some comparisons. So I'm just wondering, have you started this yet? Have you started being channeled through this other person?
He has not agreed to do it yet.
Aha.
That would be Peter.
Okay. Interesting. Is it a skill that anybody can do?
If they give over of themselves and to allow it, then it can be done. The problem is that many peoples are very skeptical. Many peoples are very untrusting. So the object is to find someone who is ready to channel.
Is there anything you wish to share with us right now, as long as I've got the camera rolling?
What would you wish to know?
Anything you wish to share?
Billy is quite unique in that his metabolism is different than yours. Billy has what would be termed as two hearts. Billy has also what is termed as no blood type at all. His blood can be given to anyone, and it will act accordingly and sufficiently in their body.
O blood type? What did you say, O or no?
No.
No
blood type.
Well, that's interesting.
Indeed, it is.
Since when they give you your dog tags when you go in the military, they've got to type your blood. How does that work for him? So if he's ever injured...
It was no blood type.
No blood type, really.
It even stated it on the dog tags. No blood type.
Interesting.
Unknown.
Unknown.
Indeed.
Okay. Anything else you wish to share with us?
Well, it has been pretty well covered, I believe.
Okay.
However, you are God, and you know this to be true. You do not feel it now, but you will in the near future.
Can we look forward to a reunion?
A reunion of whom?
Inner Earth, Hollow Earth peoples with the surface peoples?
That is the purpose for the Agarthians coming to the surface. They are preparing the way for us to come to the surface. Your surface at this time is too toxic for the Hollow Earthians to come.
So is the idea for them to come to the surface?
Indeed.
Do they all want to come to the surface?
We are, because we are your brothers and sisters, and it is time for a reunion.
To reunite the family?
To reunite the worlds into one united planet.
Polar openings.
And what about them?
We have one in the north.
You have one in north and one in south.
The southernmost one,
Antarctica.
Antarctica, can't be viewed from the internet, Google Earth. The whole continent is obscured. I've read that there are some stories of the Nazis who used submarines to go underneath the continent. Are you aware of these entrances?
There are no entrances in what would be termed under the continent. You do have waterways through the ice that go into the entrances of the South Polar opening. At the time of Olaf Jensen, in the book called The Smoky God, Antarctica was not as immense as it is now. There were open waterways. I can show you, if you see a map, I can show you where the waterways were. So Olaf Jensen was able to sail his sloop, sailing vessel, out through the polar opening and to go home. But unfortunately, there was a mishap, and the sloop was destroyed. The father perished, but the son, Olaf Jensen, survived on what is termed as an ice pack, deposited on one. Now, because of the different temperatures, the drop in temperatures, those waterways are filled in. However, what you term as global warming is not global warming. It is us melting the ice around the openings so there can be contact with the outer world. It is not global warming. It is a planned event. We must open the waterways so you can bring your vessels, such as your cruise ships and things of this nature, into hollow earth. So what we are doing, we are melting the ice in one area, open the waterway up, and refreeze it against the far side, creating a waterway that is free of ice. And you term it global warming.
So there's no undercontinent passage to get to Hollow Earth?
Not through the Antarctic, no.
Is there a place in Hollow Earth called Agartha?
Hollow Earth, Agharta, is, in actuality, is a subterranean city. It is located beneath the continent, or the city, or the landmass known as Tibet. To gain entrance to this Agharta, you must go through what is termed a waterfall. You go behind it. And it's not too far from the capital of Tibet. There's a waterfall. You go behind the waterfall into a cave. Goes down at a little less than a 45-degree angle, going down. You get down to the bottom, you come to a great door with a symbol on the door, the symbol of Lemuria. And you, on that symbol, you put your hand upon it, it will open for you, if your heart and mind are in the right place. That is how you gain entrance to our world. You must be emotionally, from heart, ready, through what is termed as your mind and vibration must be at a certain level, and you will be accepted. But most people on the surface are not ready.
Billy talks about going home.
Indeed.
You expecting to see him soon?
Indeed.
Has he completed his mission?
Almost.
What's left to do?
He has a few more meetings to go to.
What kind of meetings?
Speaking places, places to give forth knowledge to the masses.
I don't have any more questions, actually. So.
One place would be Hawaii.
Go ahead. What?
You could ask Zora, ask him to talk about himself. You've asked plenty of questions about Billy.
Yeah.
And what would you like to know about me?
How old are you?
How old am I?
How many trips around the sun?
Well, if you go by way of Earth years, I would be termed as 150,000 trips around the sun. And that is only in hollow Earth. Does not count before.
Okay, so that implies that you haven't always been in hollow Earth.
No,
Where were you before?
on the planet of Lemur.
Lemur's a planet. Where's Lemur?
You term it Nibiru.
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 Okay.
The true name is Lemur.
Is it part of a system of planets around a
It is
star?
on an elliptical orbit through your solar system.
Okay. So I've heard this story from Sitchin, Zarayya Sitchin. 3,600-year orbit, is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Where is it now?
On its way back in again.
Is it within the solar system?
Not yet.
When will it arrive?
When it arrives.
What's it like on Nibiru or Lemur?
Lemur, wondrous place. It is much larger than your planet Earth. When it comes through, it will have a gravitational force that will cause upheaval upon the face of this planet, but not as drastic as they are foretelling. Because the people of Lemur have the ability to lessen the effects of their planet upon other heavenly bodies. They have this ability to buffer the effects. The planet is very green. There are no deserts. It has a gentle rainfall, not harsh like it is on the surface. It is a wondrous place to be. The inhabitants are quite large in height. The atmosphere is pure. The oceans are pure. There are many races living upon it, besides the Lemurian, from other star systems. And we are anxiously awaiting its return.
Does it have any moons?
2.
Is it orbiting a star?
Hmm?
Is it a rogue planet or is it in a system?
It is going through an elliptical orbit through your Milky Way system.
As one planet with 2 moons?
Hmm?
Or is it one planet with 2 moons that is also going around a star?
Around the center of your galaxy, your Milky Way.
One planet and 2 moons?
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to the inbound planet?
Pretty much, yes.
Doesn't it get cold there?
No.
Out in space? There's no sun? No star that it's revolving around?
Why would it be?
Yeah, I'm thinking from the perspective of Earth and the many other solar systems that have planets revolving around the
The
sun.
peoples that are on the planet give forth all the heat they need.
So there's no star.
No star. None needed.
Interesting.
Indeed.
How long were you on that planet before you came here?
A long time.
The cycles would be measured differently, I'd imagine. So we talk about cycles around the sun.
Well, see, there is no time.
Mm-hmm.
Time is an illusion. On the surface, you gauge time in years because of the seasons, things of this nature. But on the mirror, there is no seasons. It is all tropical all the time.
So what did you do on Lemur?
What did I do on the mirror? Well, I was what is termed as a lover of nature.
And here you are on Earth,
Indeed.
in Hollow Earth, still a lover of nature?
Of course, but I'm also monitoring what is termed as your North Polar opening
Are you
to
also,
allow or disallow peoples to come in.
that's your primary function up there? In
Indeed.
the North Pole?
Indeed.
Does it get boring?
No, it is a joy.
What do you like most about watching the North Pole opening?
To see the peoples that are ready to come, and what they are going through to get there.
Are there people who are coming in now
Indeed,
and they're allowed in?
indeed,
How are they coming in?
by trying.
Trying? Are they walking?
No, not walking,
Okay. Are they driving?
not driving either.
Flying?
Some,
Okay. Airplanes?
yes, and also aeroships.
Do you ever have any stuff just kind of falls out of orbit into the hole?
A bit. Satellites, occasional aircraft.
What do you do with that stuff once it comes in?
Depends on the situation.
Seems like an aircraft coming in would represent pollution since you don't use any petro.
It is dealt with.
Okay. Are there those who attempt to come in you don't want to come in?
Those that are not ready to come in do not see the opening.
Is that by something that you're doing from your craft?
It's a holographic image of clouds. Weather. Most of the time it is cloud covered, obscured.
How do you determine whether somebody's ready to come in?
It is in through their heart.
So you can sense this?
Indeed.
What kind of range do you have on that kind of ability?
Range unlimited.
So they could be coming part of, and you'll know they're coming?
Indeed.
Does everybody in Hollow Earth have that capability?
If they desire, yes.
Just have to tune into it?
Of course. Soon you will realize that you can do the same. Remember, you're not limited beings. You are unlimited.
I got the brain strain.
The only limitations you have are the ones you put upon yourself.
Mhm.
And you have a brain strain freeze.
Brain strain? No, just a brain strain. I've been going for a few hours, so. No, I'm really right now, I can't think of anything. I've got you here. A lot of the questions seem rather petty. But,
Indeed.
people want to know, it's the kind of thing, so when you come up with you come here and you're delivering a message, then I try to think of the kinds of things that people might ask as they're listening to the message. And these are the kinds of things I'm coming up with. So
Indeed.
I've got nothing else. I'm at that point. I've hit the wall.
At the wall.
I've hit the wall. I just look in my book. I don't know what else to ask. Oh my goodness.
I find that quite a lot.
Yeah.
You get many people wanting to ask questions, but when it comes down to asking the questions, they lose it.
Yeah, but I've been talking to Billy for a couple of hours too.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You could talk about Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
What Hollow Earth is like, and what is life like?
What is life like in Hollow Earth?
And with the children, what do they do? What is family time like?
They are not limited. They are allowed to express themselves. They're allowed to be creative. They are not stagnated as they are on the surface. They are creative. They are inquisitive, questioning everything, which is understandable, but
When
like they question who they are, what their purpose is.
When do they start to ask that, since they're very evolved anyways, and they're fifth
Indeed.
dimensional? And we also know that the pregnancy period is...
The pregnancy period.
We could talk about conception, birth, how long it takes, when do they start to actually begin to even think and become creative.
From conception to what is called the birthing is 3 months. No more. And it is painless. There is no pain. Because pain is a negative, and there is no negativity.
So they're born.
Indeed.
Natural childbirth.
Of course. Actually in the ocean.
In the ocean.
In the Arctic Ocean.
No, in the ocean in what is termed the Hollow Earth.
Well, that's sort of a hole.
It is tropical.
It made sense.
It is tropical.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. And then, of course, now in here, people, children are usually, when they're born, they drink milk. So in Hollow Earth, are they also breastfed or given milk and fruit, or how are they?
Given fruit, not milk.
Milk.
No.
Sound like you knew the answer to that question.
No, I didn't.
No? They're not breastfed? No?
Yeah.
No?
Not breastfed. No. They are giving a solution that is a mixture of fruits, soft.
As babies.
As babies, indeed. They should do the same on the surface, but they do not.
So when do they really start to develop, as far as where they can begin to read and write?
Right away.
Right away. Right away.
Indeed.
A child is born,
Hmm.
and when are they going to be able to read and write?
They will begin to reading and writing is not necessary
Oh, correct.
because of the telepathy.
And they do that as soon as they're born.
Yes, upon birth, and even before.
Correct.
How does the learning process work if there's no writing?
We have what is called the Pathologos Library.
Say that again a little slower for me, please. The path.
Pathologos Library.
Pathologos Library.
It's located beneath the Aegean Sea in Hollow Earth. It is where the people go to learn, but it is a different learning. It is an experience learning, and actually being at the event. You can learn much more by being in an event instead of reading about it.
This is interesting. I just read about a guy who had an experience where he was given a choice of what he wanted to learn, and he was interested in some ancient warfare or something like this. I can't remember what it was. He was Alexander the Great, I think. And they put him in front of the screen and they let him see it, smell it, feel it, experience it,
And touch it.
as though you were there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that is the way it is in Pathologos Library. Say you wanted to experience what would be termed as the sinking of the Titanic. You are there, on the ship, experiencing it.
It's like a holodeck, or is this a screen? Or?
Similar to it, you have crystal discs made of crystal, and they are put upon a player, and they are played. And it is as if it becomes a reality to you. You are there. You intermingle and intertalk with the people there, or with another star system. The birthing of a world.
It sounds amazing. I mean, that you could anything you wanted to learn, anywhere you wanted to go. You don't have to go there. You don't even have to go to this place.
No, you do not.
To see it.
It is there in your mind, and you also experience it by being there. Learning is much greater capacity that way, and you learn much faster by experiencing what you're seeing.
So when a child is born in Hollow Earth, and again, the perception or my point of reference is from this world.
Indeed.
And then you're born with certain capabilities. He is Walter is very inclined with he's got great abilities with working with electronics, with lots of these technical things. Many children are also born with wanting to become artists, etc. So the children that are born in Hollow Earth, do they already have it in their genes as well? Which areas they're going to flourish in? I don't know I guess what I want to do, what I want to ask is about their DNA. I want to know about their genes. How does that all come to be?
Their makeup.
Yes.
Many of them choose before conception.
Okay.
And once they are born, then they have a predestined path.
Isn't that also derived from you and your companion?
Indeed, it is.
So they have some of your genes, so to speak.
Indeed.
As well as their own.
Yes.
They have, okay. So similar.
And they are free to express it. Contrary to what it is on the surface. On the surface, you raise your child, you send them to institutes of learning, and what do they learn? Nothing useful. On this planet. Are they taught to care for nature? No. Are they taught to express themselves through creativity? No, they are told not to. They are told to be a certain way. We do not do this to our children. We allow them to express themselves, to allow them to be who they wish to be or what they wish to be.
Okay.
Which is what they should do on the surface, but they do not. And then your people's, what is termed as your military government, issue things such as mandatory inoculations, which also hinder the development of the child. It takes away their ability of creation. It takes away their ability to be independent, to be free, to be expressive, to be creative, to their creative mind is hindered by drugs, chemicals.
So your daughter, the youngest, right now is far excelled already
Of course.
in many areas.
If she was brought to the surface, she would be considered a genius.
Thank you for coming.
Indeed.
Appreciate you taking the time. Do you have any other questions?
Thank you, Walter.
I'm spent. I'm done.
Walter.
I'm sorry, I'm done. I've got nothing left.
Oh, Zara has such wonderful
Yeah.
knowledge.
I have that effect upon people.
No. Not you.
You could stay for as long as you like.
Indeed. I know.
Anyway.
Anyhow, well, there was one other kind of theme thing in here that was, and Billy's already kind of talked about this 3 different ways, I think.
What is this?
This has to do with, and we touched on it a little bit, is, what does it take to get into Hollow Earth? And don't answer yet. I want to make sure I phrase this right. When will people have more exposure to Hollow Earth? When will it be made available to other people? Do you have to be a believer to be a part of it?
No, you do not have to be a believer. When they're ready, that's when the interaction will take place.
Is there something that people have to do to become ready?
Raise their consciousness levels, raise their vibrational levels, raise their energy levels. The exercise I taught you last night will help them achieve this.
And we're talking about meditation.
Not just meditation. Meditation is thought processes, what is termed as the rising of the consciousness levels, the exercise that was given. That is what will raise the vibrational levels and the consciousness and the energy.
Right. So.
Indeed.
Right. So with the hands and the exhaling through the teeth forcefully.
Indeed.
That was part of that. Okay. I had looked at that as a preparation.
Of course.
For meditation.
It could be that too.
Okay. Got it.
Now, when you go to bed, have with you what is termed either a tablet or what would be termed as a recording device. And
Plenty of those.
And when you dream, before you retire, you state forth to the Lord God of your being that you want to remember your dream. And you remember by waking right afterward and either write it down or record it.
So why is it important to record your dreams?
Especially nowadays, Because you are starting to dream of your future work, future home. That is why.
Interesting.
That is what your dreams were about last night.
I don't remember my dreams last night.
That is what I'm saying. Before you retire,
Yes. Yeah. He's telling me what my dreams are now. What, dude, can you tell me what I dreamt last night? Because I can't tell you. he can say anything, really, right now.
in course, I could say anything, and you would either believe it or not believe it.
You dreamed of hurdling camels and... Sorry.
No, you dreamed of going to Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
That's what you dreamed.
I remember it.
It will come to you.
Okay. I dreamed of other cool stuff, but I don't remember that.
Well, if your desire is strong enough, you will remember your dream.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Billy this morning that dreams are more easily remembered if right after you wake up and you focus on them. You think that, and
Indeed,
that's when
you can do this. But you can also wake up in the middle of the night and record it. What you dreamed.
Yeah, I've heard people having exercises where they'll set like a little timer. Go off like every half hour. Kind of wake them up so they can write down.
You have what inside you. You have what would be termed as an internal clock, and you can set it for whatever time you wish to arise. You can do this with waking in the morning. Instead of waking up at 9 o'clock, you could wake up at 7 or whatever by setting your internal clock.
And I can do that, but since Hollow Earth doesn't have time, you guys really don't need alarm clocks, do you?
Of course not. And time is an illusion as well.
Do you rest?
Do we rest?
No, do you rest?
That was what I said. Do we rest?
Singular, plural. I get it. Bring it.
Indeed. At times we rest, yes.
Okay. Well, there's the collective we. Billy talked about all one. And yet you have individually bodies.
But we are still one.
Okay. But there's still individual bodies. No?
Of course, but you are still one with a single mind.
Okay. There's a physical body?
Of course.
Okay. There's multiple physical bodies? Mentally connected as one? Okay. So the individual bodies can choose whether to eat or not, whether to sleep or not?
Of course.
Okay. I'm asking Zora, your individual body, do you sleep?
At times, yes.
Do you eat?
Of course.
Have you heard the term breatharian?
Indeed.
Is this something that you want, that you are?
Can be.
The other choice is fruitarian. No meat eaters down there?
No.
No.
You do not eat what you talk to.
Well, let's see. You can talk to the plants.
Indeed.
Well, do you eat that? Okay.
Indeed. But I'm speaking of what you talk with through telepathy. Anything with a face, you leave alone.
Okay.
We do not eat fish because fish we communicate with.
So what about singing orchids?
All our plants sing.
Do the strawberries sing? Do strawberries sing?
The plants do, yes.
The fruit doesn't?
The fruit is for nourishment.
Okay. Are there bees in Hollow Earth?
About that big.
How large are the strawberry blossoms?
Strawberry blossom?
Yeah. The plant's got to have a flower. The bee's got to pollinate the flower.
Mm.
Flower becomes fruit.
Big. Bigger.
You
Big.
got blossoms that are this big.
Of course.
Is there a real estate problem down there where people
Real
live?
estate problem.
Well, think about it. You have these ginormous plants. You know, one strawberry, is that enough to feed a family of 4? You know.
Remember how tall they are.
Remember how tall we are.
Okay, all right. You're 15 feet, was it, or was it meters? I forget.
Feet.
Feet. Okay, 15 feet tall. So you're twice my height. More than twice my height. And still a strawberry this big is still going to be, per person, 15 feet tall. You know, scaling is still, that's a big strawberry.
Indeed.
Do you have strawberry seed spitting contests? We have watermelon seed contests. Spitting contests. You spit the watermelon seeds
No.
to see how far they'll go. Yeah,
I know you're being facetious.
I had asked Billy to describe what the houses were like and what his room looked like.
Ah,
Perhaps maybe you could tell us a scenario you get up.
his room?
Yes.
Billy's room is round, of course. It circles within a circle.
Mm-hmm.
You have your home, which is the circle, and then you have your rooms that are circular as well, inside the circle. There is no corners for dust to settle. The furniture within the room, you have what is termed as a sitting device. It is round, it hovers above the floor, and you have your resting place, which is the same. He preferred not to have them, but he would prefer to go out and lay in the grass. So he let me be with Mother Nature, which we encourage him to do. The collective as a whole, the people in the hollow earth, they go to and fro in their daily activities. Activities could consist of going to Pathologos Library, or what is termed as being out with nature, or singing, or playing an instrument, or what is called going to other star systems, just from thought. You are not limited to hollow earth. You can go wherever you desire. So, yes.
So there's no, in terms of, like the mundane things of, I know that there are no corners, but here, even if you have a bed, you still have to make the bed. You still have to,
And you don't need to make a bed.
You don't have to make a bed.
Oh.
If you have a bed.
A platform to lay upon. It is soft, forms around your body.
Nothing to make it, sounds like.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't sound like there's anything to make up.
Nothing.
Nothing to make up.
Just
Indeed.
Just a platform?
Just a platform.
Sounds
No
very,
blankets.
sounds very Klingon to me.
Yeah. I know.
Very what?
Klingon.
Yeah.
Klingon.
Yeah. It's.
That is a program on TV.
Yes. Star Trek.
Indeed.
The Klingons have platforms. There's no shades,
Yes.
no pillows.
No, nothing.
Everything's very hard in the Klingon world.
Well, the
Everything is very soft.
There, yes. Yes, insofar as not having a pillow or a sheet or a
Yeah.
blanket.
and
Very
everything is
Spartan.
like hovering on top.
Okay, so how about, all right, so we talked about food a little bit, strawberries. All the fruit is big. You're all fruitarians. You're eating fruit. So does everybody grow their own food? Where do you go? I mean, here we go to the store, we're shopping, you give them money, you bring it home, you prepare the food, you eat it. How is that different from what's going on down in the Hollow Earth?
Hollow Earth, you go out, you pluck a fruit from a tree, you eat it. You have what is termed as multiple foods. I've been asked on what is termed, how does one defecate?
Mm-hmm.
Is there toilets?
Right, the sewage system. I mean,
There is none.
a water treatment system.
None
You
needed.
take a whole lot back and take care of
None
it.
needed. When you have yourself what is termed as a bowel movement, it is disintegrated upon exiting the body.
Just disappears.
Indeed.
Did you know that?
That's interesting, huh?
That is interesting. So 3D man on surface walks into Hollow Earth being permitted and everything's squared away. Does he immediately become 15 feet tall and
It is a process.
yeah, okay. Is this something that he's put through by the people of Hollow Earth?
If the desire is to stay in Hollow Earth,
Mhm.
then he will begin his change.
Automatically? So like no buttons to push, really.
No, the gravity in within Hollow Earth, whatever you weigh now, you would subtract that down to a third, and that's what you would weigh.
Hmm. So you said you've had people come in from the surface before.
Indeed,
So, and there are people who have stayed.
indeed.
How long is this transition for them to becoming,
Some fast, some slow.
okay, here we go with time again. See, I'm setting an alarm clock. I want to know how many days, is it measured in days?
There is no time.
There is no time. So it's instantaneous, really. It's now, all is now.
Indeed.
Okay. So no distribution system, no sewage system, no sheets to wash, no dust, really?
No dust.
Well, there's dirt down there, right? Doesn't the dirt kind of kick up? Winds blow? Are there winds down there?
Gentle winds, not harsh at all, not heavy,
All right.
not strong,
So the bodies are different.
of course.
Okay. And the epidermis, and our skin's always flaking off. That's where a lot of dust comes from. You know, so is that different from the bodies?
The bodies are pure.
All over?
So we don't have, there's no need for sips, no need for baths, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, everything is fresh, everything is clean.
Okay.
It is hard to conceive.
Huh? Or, yeah.
It is hard to fathom.
Yes. It sounds very much like a flight of fancy going.
People think of it as a Garden of Eden. That's the real Garden of Eden.
Yep.
Eden is one of the cities.
Is hell down there?
What?
Is there a place called hell down there?
No.
H-E-L-L. Okay. Because I've seen maps that put hell down there. Just curious.
Ah. Man's conception.
Where are the negative and evil, as far as, higher dimensional beings, where are they?
They're not in Hollow Earth.
No, I'm not talking about just Hollow Earth, Zara,
In-
because I know that they are there.
Inner Earth.
You have two civilizations within the Earth crust that are always disagreeing with one another. You have what is termed as the Deros and the Teros.
Mm. Okay.
They are degenerates of the Atlantean culture.
Oh, really?
Do they look human?
Somewhat.
Are they greys?
No.
Are they reptilians?
No.
Deros or Teros?
Deros and Teros.
Some look somewhat human.
The Deros are more distinguishable toward human, as whereas the others of the more of a degenerative being.
Where are they in that chair? Where do they reside?
They would be close to the 400-mile mark.
And then how do you keep them at bay? How do you keep them at bay so that they don't, I don't want to say infiltrate, but...
They're monitored on a daily basis.
They're fifth dimensional though still.
Hmm?
They're fifth dimensional as well.
They're actually in between fourth and fifth.
Okay.
Because they were from the Atlantean culture.
Yeah, so they don't have that. Okay.
Are you aware of the Greys?
You mean the gray spacesuits?
I mean the Greys.
I say again, are you familiar with, you mean the gray spacesuits?
I don't know anything about any Grey spacesuits. I only know of them as...
They're humanoid inside them. They are a species of themselves, but they are not, the outward appearance you see of them is not what they truly look like. It is a shell.
Where do they live?
Hmm?
Where do they live on the planet?
They do not. They are just visitors.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you familiar with the underground bases at Dulcine in Mexico?
Very familiar with all the underground bases.
The Agarthians that are on the surface of the earth are in control of what would be termed as the underground bases up to a certain level. The upper levels, from the Earth's crust downward, are still controlled by what is termed as the beings, military. Below that, they are being manned by what is termed the Agarthians.
What do the Agarthians look like?
The Agarthians look like you or I, not quite as tall as us, but similar.
Are they white?
Are they what?
Are they black? Are they brown? Are they yellow? Are they Indian, red? What do they look like?
Whatever the shade they wish to be.
Chameleons?
Hmm?
They're chameleons, you see.
If they decide
Decide on whatever shade
choose
they want.
whatever they want to be.
Okay. That's convenient.
Indeed, it is.
How would I know if I ever met a Agarthian?
Agarthian?
Yeah.
If your vibration is high enough, you will see them.
If they look like anybody else, how will I be able to tell them apart from a regular human?
The Agarthians are quite are tall as well, but not as tall as us.
I know there's a lot of NBA players who are pretty tall. So, yeah, junior high school kid, 7.5 feet tall. Oh my God, he's still growing. Whoosh. Maybe he's Agartha.
Indeed. So you have learned?
Yeah, I've been fed with a fire hose and I'm on overload right now. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's been good. It's good we're taping this, so I can watch it back and see what I missed.
Indeed. On that, I will leave and let Billy return.
Okay.
I'm sure you will have questions for him.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping.
And indeed.
Come again soon.
Good day, Zora.